The following podcast episode might contain coarse language and subjects not suitable for younger audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Live from a not-so-sleepy little town comes a podcast for a mobile game. Really? Anyhow, your hosts, a content creator and an artist trying to come up with wild ideas while also talking about whatever. It's the Goosebumps HorrorTown TerrorVision podcast!
This is an interesting part indeed, because this is part 2. No, God, we're tired. This is episode 2, technically 3, of the HTTV podcast episode. And this is an interesting episode because you may not know this, but we're doing this at night.
At night.
At night.
Yeah. Good old SpongeBob. Yeah, so if we are talking a bit down, that's probably why, because, for me, particularly in the crypt, there are some people who are, they do work and they sleep in the areas. Like, there's like, I say it makes it look like I'm living down in the, like, the old crypts, but really it's a nice little setup home. But, I'm in the quarters right now, and I don't want to wake them up and get pissed, so. Yeah. But yeah, that's
Meanwhile,
why
I'm just wide awake.
Yeah, well, he's wide awake, so if it sounds like why I'm so low, that's why. So, and that explains it. We were trying to do this earlier, but conflict of interest, and because of, not conflict of interest, what's wrong with me? Me being sleepy.
Oh,
Yeah, then there you
yeah,
go.
that sleep is taking a toll on you.
God, just, yeah, here we go. Because of, both of us had stuff to do, in real life. It was trying to get that time management thing going. So here we are.
Yeah.
Hopefully we won't take this too long. And last episode was a little bit controversial and a little bit long, that we had to cut half of it, or 1/3 of it. And then we had to clip.
I mean, I don't recall anything controversial about our last episode, but yeah.
No. I mean, it's more so. It wasn't really controversial. It was just the topic of Ellie, basically. And then all
Right.
that. I always, because we're both Canadian. I'm sure you remember growing up with Teletoon.
Oh fuck yeah! Oh man.
Okay.
Did you know they actually got rid of Teletoon?
Yeah, I heard about that. Well, I mean, technically, it's on as far as a subscription program goes, but yeah, as far as TV channels, it's gone now. Yeah.
That
They
really
got
annoyed me because I really loved some of the old Teletoon stuff.
Yeah, especially it's exclusive Teletoon stuff there. But yeah, it's weird because I remember when it first came on live, like they were making a big deal about this. I think it was back in '97, and you can see this on YouTube. But back then with Teletoon, they had like they did their blocks differently, where they had a morning, afternoon, evening, and night program, but they did it by planets, right? So you had a morning planet, afternoon planet, evening planet, and then a night planet. The night
Right.
planet was so well done as far as how to deal with it, because part of the problem is, how can you get kids to not want to watch your program, like night program, because it's for adults, right? So you don't want them to watch things they shouldn't be watching. I know. Let's scare them with the bumpers.
Well, actually, when I was younger, I remembered something like Teletoon Detour. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like the late night programs that
yeah.
had like
Like
stuff like The
that.
Take
Yeah,
and
yeah, like that stuff, that's fine. Like, I just meant, like, during that time, they were, like, not too scared. But the reason why I kind of do my, like, beginning bits last time, when my whole intro would be, like, spooky, in a sense, kind of came inspiration
yeah.
from that. You can take a look at this
Oh,
by
cool.
looking at, like, you can go on YouTube. The people have recorded this and put it up. But there's, like, something called, like, Teletoon baby bumper commercial, or a baby bumper.
Yeah.
And, it just shows you. It just shows you, like, it's creepy because it's done in claymation, and it's supposed to be spooky, like, this is nighttime city. Like, I'll give you an example of one of the bumpers where, when you're an adult, you look at this and go, oh, that's funny. But, it's also kind of like creepy, kind of like make kids not want to watch. So
Right.
one of the skits, was there's a guy on the corner kind of smoking, whatnot, and then you hear like this lady almost sounds like moaning sounds, and this like looks like a leg. You know how usually when, you want to get riders to hitch a ride, you kind of do the leg thing like you see in cartoons?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he does
Kind of
that,
like
right?
what Sally did in for Oogie Boogie and Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah. Basically that.
Yeah.
So, but no, anyways, during this time, the guy sees this and he's just like looking like, interesting. And then you see around the corner and it's this big monster thing. And it's like, okay, so it's like an anglerfish trying to lure the guy. So,
Oh, like in SpongeBob when they had like the granny
yeah,
with the ice cream.
exactly like that. But that's what I'm talking about. Like as an adult, you look at that and think, "Oh, that's funny." But as a kid, it's like that scares the crap out of you. So it's like that's perfect. That's what you want to do. You want to scare them so they don't want to watch your
Right,
program for
exactly.
nights. The adults will be fine
Makes much
with
more
it. They can
sense.
deal with the spooks. Yeah, but
But kids, ooh, you're screwed.
yeah. Yeah, so growing up with that, like that's why I kind of got inspired. Like that scarred me, so that's why it's like, this is how I'm going to deal with making sure that my younger audience don't watch my stuff by spooking them a little bit, not by much, mind you, but still, it's just like makes it creepy.
Yeah,
So
I get you.
yeah, so yeah. Anyways, getting a little bit off topic, but that's the norm in this type of stuff. But yeah,
Excuse me.
anyways, so instead, we're going to be talking about there's two Goosebumps news we want to talk about. And then what we're going to do is we're going to briefly mention an update that just hit. We're going to talk about an update we were talking about a little bit last time, but that we promised we would do for this episode. And then you're going to tell us your story of reveal to us what we've been hinting at for the last episode. And we'll just
Yeah.
end it and tease for the next one. And to give you context, you'll probably be watching this sometime around March. I think I would probably guess spring break. I am around our time. So that'd be like maybe the 17th when St. Patrick's Day kind of hits. Well, we're recording this on the 20, well, I think technically it's the 26th now of February.
Uh, no, it's the 25th.
Okay, it's the 25th. So, I know my dates. Yeah, basically gives you the context of like when we're recording this to be like, well, they're talking about like the update's done, but the update's already completed. It's just like, yeah, but our recording, it's weird, okay? This is how we're doing it. So now you have context of when you're hearing this, like, it's taking place 4 weeks ago. Anyways, so
Yeah,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah. So that's our main concept of topics here. So I guess
And if
before
you've been
we
following his channel, there would have been like, obvious.
yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's because I've always updated I always post my updates late, but I'm glad I'm kind of recording them as I do now because it kind of gives a bit of
Yeah.
you get to hear what I'm doing at that time. So it's not like me trying to recall what happened like I'm trying to do with my archive stuff, but I digress.
Right.
So before we start our topics, is there anything you wanted to talk about or make mention of?
Not currently, no.
Okay, so then we'll just start uh, our main topics. So first things first. So they made the announcement this month, that Goosebumps, the TV series for Disney Plus, is getting renewed for a second season. There were speculations that this might have been the thing, but there was no concrete like, oh, this is going to happen. So now they've officially said, yeah, this is happening. So they've basically mentioned how this is going to be 8 episodes rather than 10 episodes. And they've already gave the synopsis of what the story is going to be based about. And they've confirmed that the series is going to be an anthology rather than a continuation from the first season. And when they say anthology, people might get confused and be like, "Oh, you mean like back in the '90s?" It's like, no. When they mean anthology, they mean it by how American Horror Story does their seasons, where each season is its own unique story. So I think that's what they're going with this time around, and I don't think it has any
Yeah,
connection
like
with.
Murder House or Hotel or Freak Show.
Exactly. So I think someone also mentioned the new Are You Afraid of the Dark also does this thing. So I wouldn't know because I haven't watched or paid attention to it, but I'm gonna believe them. So if you're
Same.
known to that, then that's what they gotta do there. So that this gives you the context of what's going on. So it's interesting with the premise of what they're kind of going with there, because they mentioned that they're looking at five kids going missing. And most people think, oh, there's a connection to the last episode. I don't know if it's going to be connection to the last season. I think it's just totally new kids, and they might be looking at different books this time around. But we'll have to
Five
wait and
Nights
see.
at Freddy's.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
You got it
When
on
you
purpose.
just hear five
Purple
kids go
guy.
missing, that's like the first thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you hear like five kids go missing, that's like the first thing that comes to mind. It's like Five Nights at Freddy's.
that's an interesting. Yeah, and I don't want to go off topic because I know they've recently did a movie. I have yet to see that, but I've heard it's good. So I know I'll believe them, but
Yeah,
I
I
guess
liked it actually.
yeah, I mean, it's made by Blumhouse, so they've always done good when it comes to horror stuff, so it's not like, they ever did anything bad. I think they have one coming up called Imaginary, which is supposed to be an interesting concept of, like, imaginary friend, but, they're evil. So,
I think I don't want to spoil the movie because it hasn't come out yet or anything, but I feel like it's actually more of another one of those like scenarios where it's a ghost or a demon interacting with a child that other people presume it's an imaginary friend because only the little
yeah,
kid can see them.
it's probably a cliche, that's what's going on, but we'll see what
Yeah.
ends up happening because, yeah, it's interesting. But anyways, going back on topic, what's your thoughts on this whole announcement thing? Because I know when it was announced to the community, there were mixed feelings about it. Some people were happy to be like, "Yay, new episodes!" Like people who actually liked the first season, and then other people like old farts like us who are like, "Nah, I'm not excited." I saw the first how
Well,
you screwed up the first season, so it's like, well, hopefully you don't screw up this season.
well, the thing about the first season for me is that I would personally rate it a 6 out of 10. Mainly because um, it's a very interesting take on the series itself, but there were a lot of different elements in the show that I'm not really a big fan of. But then there are other parts of the show that I absolutely love, right? Like
Yeah,
how they portrayed the cuckoo clock of doom, for example, and the concept of go eat worms. Like those were the fucking best episodes to
those
me
are
of
very
that
creative.
series.
Like when I heard those
Yeah,
concepts, I
right.
thought to myself, that sounds like a Goosebumps HorrorTown thing. That sounds like something they would do. To be creative with that
Yeah,
thing, you know.
it's it's really fucking clever, and I actually enjoyed those episodes. But I can also understand the criticisms a lot of people have with episodes like Welcome to Horrorland.
Yeah, I mean that was just they
That was like
basically
probably
teased
a
that.
bigger
That was like
letdown.
that was what do you call those viewers like there's a term for it. It's basically like a it's not a viewer trap, but ratings trap.
Tourist Trap?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
where it's like a
ratings
rating
trap.
trap, where they would purposely be like, "Oh, you're gonna watch this thing," and then you watch it and it has nothing to do, like basically kind of like how YouTube clickbaits kind of thing,
Yeah,
but for
right.
TV. So that might be what they were going with. They were like doing that on purpose because they they basically said, "Well, we're only doing 5 books, right?" And they told you what the 5 books are, but then they go ahead and name stuff like "You Can't Scare Me" and Welcome to Horrorland,
Yeah,
which kind of like, man, you know what you were doing, come on, But
yeah,
I know Bjorn was like, when it comes to "You Can't Scare Me," he's like, you just should have called it "Beware the Snowman" and just had like a snowman come to life and attack. It's like, there you go, there's your justification. See,
yeah. We
there's the
never even have an
snowman.
episode for that yet.
No. But it sounds like an easy
No.
premise to do anyways too, because they adapted it in the in Horror Town. I think they did a good job from it. I
Yeah.
think, yeah. It's interesting too because originally, I looked at the concept. They were actually going to have the main character from that book be a new character in the game, but they changed it to Wolfsbane last minute and had Brooke be the main focus character for that.
I
But
mean,
it would
I
have been,
like Wolfsbane too. Not gonna lie.
yeah, but it would have been interesting to see the character. from that story come out because they had an idea of what she would have looked like, and she would be basically related to Conrad, so it would have been an interesting concept to see a new kid. But they went with Wolfsbane instead, so I was like, okay, all right.
I mean, Wolfsbane was his dog, so.
Yeah, yeah, but you wouldn't think that would be I mean, they made him an interesting character, but it's more or less type of like you wouldn't expect that to be the case. But you know,
Right.
going off topic of that, but yeah, it's quite interesting with like it's interesting when looking back at some of the concepts they had, and it sucks that they've. I mean, been interesting to see why they changed it last minute or so, but
Um,
it's here.
as for my opinion on the announcement on the second season, because I didn't actually get to answer that question yet, I feel like if they had if they had like made the concepts more similar to how they were in the book and not just like ratings trap us, then I feel like it would be a lot more positively I feel like it would be a lot more positively received than just mixed reviews.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing I will tell the show this is that the theme song or the theme segment, whatever you call it, the introduction, I actually
Yeah,
like how they've made it. Like it's simple enough, but it kind of gets to the point where you kind of see this like what's supposed to be about, right? Like the whole
right.
ink going on paper and trying to make the weird looking goosebump logo and then the light flickering off to kind of
Yeah,
give that spookiness to it. And it's like, yeah, it's no 90s classic, like beatbox tune, but it does its job.
yeah.
I know a lot of
It's no
people
hippity hoppity.
people were complaining about with the trailer. It's just like I get goosebumps every night. It's just like, why you do crap at
Well,
Scott? It's just like, well, I don't care.
I know that like artists like Travis Scott and Dr. Acula, they've made songs based on like various Goosebumps titles.
Oh yeah, I mean, they probably grew up with the books and they're kind of fans of them themselves. I mean, what was it? A few years ago was a basketball player decided to have his shoes and he decided to theme it with Goosebumps in mind. Like that's rare to see
Oh,
somebody
nice.
do that. Yeah, that was like the
I mean,
latest.
there are dedicated fans out there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's weird to see the collaboration like it's just to show you, right? Goosebumps is a
Yeah,
big brand. It's been out for almost 32 years, so you know, it probably made its imprint on some people.
of course. I mean, after all, it helped children in the '90s to fucking read and shit.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. A lot of people, like kids, were like reading books, and the teachers were like, "My God, I have not seen people actually want to read books before." And there was this huge, it wasn't controversy, but it was like this premise
No,
of
it was
people.
a
Yeah, it was
it
a
was like a
controversy.
controversy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because how it happened is that a whole bunch of parents didn't like the concept of Goosebumps being shown in school because they were afraid it might terrify children, even though honestly the books are like really damn tame.
yeah. Compared to say something like "Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark," like with that scary ass
Yeah,
imagery, it's like, ooh. But yeah, and I saw a lot of
yeah,
people argue for having the books in there. Like even it was like a father came out and is just like, the fact that my child ended up wanting to read these books should show you that there is something good for them, right? So it's like,
yeah. And I think a child also stood and spoke too, saying that how much it helped them read and got into reading and stuff.
yeah. So I mean, and the thing is, kids like dark stuff. Like I've noticed, like with Five Nights at Freddy, how popular it is. Like kids get murdered all the time,
And
but
every
kids
other
love.
mascot horror.
Yeah, and the kids love that stuff. So it's like, it works. Kids like getting scared. They like going into that weird stuff. And uh, one thing I'll go off topic a little bit is R.L. Stine himself mentioned how in the in one of his courses, like he kind of had a trailer to his masterclass system, and he was talking about
Oh
how
yeah,
when writing horror for kids versus adults, for kids you have to make it so that it's a fantasy world. Like there's no guns, no one got there's no sadness or anything like that. And so you have to make the kids kind of make sure that they know that. That way you can put them through the scares of whatever they want to scare them with. When it comes to adults,
Right.
though, you have to do the opposite. You have to make it as real as possible so that it's believable enough that what you're trying to go for, right? So
Right.
I thought that was interesting that how he kind of went through that because he also did Fear Street, which is more of a teen drama type stuff.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I guess Goosebumps in this version of the season is more like Fear Street, the series, than it does.
I actually never watched Fear Street the series, to be honest.
Oh no, I seen a bit of the movie or the trilogy movie, whatever they had going on for them. It's actually not that bad. They actually were pretty faithful to the adaptation. Like it wasn't adapting anything in particular, but they basically kind of took elements from the series and just kind of made its own unique story. So
Right.
yeah, so it's quite interesting how they kind of game with the gimmick with that. But yeah, it's weird because you have to watch all three in order to understand. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's weird. It's like having to watch all three Lord of the Rings movies just so you understand the full story of the thing. But it's not as long. It's just showing you as a concept type of thing. Anyways, I think that should be it for that topic, unless you want to add anything else.
Wasn't there another announcement that you wanted to talk about too?
Yeah, I was going to get to that. I just didn't wanted to move on from that if there was anything else to add for this
No.
one. Okay. All right.
No, we're
So,
good.
all right. So the next one, Goosebump news. We've heard rumors about this previously. Someone on Twitter, I did mention this, I think, in my Alpha Attack video, that they got a message from someone at Cosmic Force saying that they're making a game basically called Goosebumps Tower of Terror. And that was basically it. And they said they were going to release it sometime in 2024. But that was all we knew about it. Well, they decided to make it official by showing a tease image, basically announcing this as Goosebumps Tower, Terror Tower, and basically went ahead and said what they're going to be releasing it on, and just the vagueness that they want to release it this year, but they don't give an estimate date when they actually want to do it. Now, they basically, like, when I first heard about the Tower of Terror, I thought it was going to be like just the name alone, but people have kind of seemed like it was going to be taking place of the Night and Terror Tower, but I wasn't 100% sure on that. But with this tease image, it's basically confirming that this is going to be mainly focused on the Night and Terror Tower as a game, which is going to be interesting to see. But something I want to add is the image they basically teased out looks like it's been AI generated. I'm not sure if it gave you
Well,
that vibe as well.
well, I'll be honest. I didn't even know this fucking existed. This is completely new to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm probably showing the image right now of the tease poster or whatnot, but yeah,
Yeah, this
it's
is like pre-editing conversations.
yeah, but it's interesting because yeah, you can quickly take a look if you have the chance, but it's
I'm currently drawing, so I can't.
oh, okay, never mind. So, um, all I will say is that it's interesting how to me, anyways, the reason I say it's AI generated is because if you look at the Goosebumps Terror Tower logo, it kind of looks like it's been AI generated, just because AI has this thing where it does a picture well, but when it comes to finding
Except for hands.
yeah, but when it comes to finer details like that, it tends to kind of be a little bit blurry. It's like dream-esque or uh surreal.
Surreal.
That's it. It's like surreal in the sense it's kind of dreamscapey. Like so it's like it's kind of vague, like blurry. So that's why I kind of say it's like AI generated because it looks like something like it looks almost like it's like advertising Dark Souls in a sense, and it's like I don't think you're going to be that going ahead and making a game just like that. And there's no idea what the game's going to be about. Mind you, these are the same people who made Night of Scares and Dead of Night. So yeah, I don't know if they've basically improved since then.
I guess night is their favorite word.
Yeah, it
The
seems to
next
be.
thing, I feel like the next game they're going to come out with, like later in the year, is going to be like a knight in screaming armor.
Or Night of the Living Dummy.
Or Night of the Living Dummy.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to say about its stuff now because, again, it's just a tease, so it's not like anything's been officially revealed. But hopefully later on down the line, we'll be able to actually talk about it when the first trailer drops, and then we can go ahead and basically say whether or not we actually think this is good or not. But I'm intrigued to see where they go from there and what they do exactly. And
Yeah.
they're advertising for stuff like they want to release it for PCs and then they're gonna do it to consoles. But they also said they're doing it for phones, so like Apple and Android. So I'm like, okay, so I'm not sure if it's gonna be a port of that game into the mobile or if it's gonna be like a different game. Like, kind of like how Night of Scares was to Dead of Night, if you know what I mean.
I'm kind of hoping that the game just comes out something like similar to like Escape from Horrorland or like Attack of the Mutant, but with like better graphics.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I mean, it's gonna be weird because, I'll be honest, Night of Terror Tower hasn't been an interesting story to me. Just because, the whole medieval thing, it's just like, I can see where some things are scary about it, but really it's boring. To me, anyways, it feels boring, so I'm gonna be intrigued
I
to
feel
see.
like I feel like what kind of ruins the story a little is the time travel aspects.
Oh yeah, and the whole plot twist of like, oh no, you really came from back then. That just threw you back in the future. That's why you didn't know your parents because you didn't have any parents. And I'm Merlin, the
Yeah, we didn't.
magician, who will now.
Yeah, we didn't fucking send you with any money because we didn't think hotels were a thing.
Yeah, can you imagine if they did send the money and they'd be like, holy shit, these are old coin. How did you find these? These are like worth millions.
Oh my god, those two would have been sitting on fucking actual fucking money. They sell those coins, they could make like thousands of dollars.
Yeah, definitely. But that's, R.L. Stine wasn't thinking about that. I still love the episode that was based off of where that was one of the few episodes where he had an introduction to the episode. And he's
Yeah.
just like, "Hey, can someone get me out of here? Hello? Help." And then he just takes a ball of chain. He's like, "Can I get wrap this?" Like he's trying to be kind of quirky, you know.
Yeah,
That's one of the
like he
things that
always does.
I love R.L. Stein just because of how awkward he is.
Yeah,
It's just like, you got this scary, like, oh, this scary guy, and then you realize he's just a dork.
yeah, he's like the fun uncle that isn't creepy.
I love his humor too, by the way. He is funny because I've mentioned this before, but there is a thing called Late Night with series, and one of them was with R.L.
Yeah,
Stein. My
yes.
God, was it hilarious with some of those jokes. Like he did one where it's basically thanks for nothing letters. So he reads letters of you know, kids who write to him, and it's just like, dear R.L. Stein, you're my second favorite author, and that's it. That's
Thanks for
all
the
the note.
backhanded compliment. Thanks for
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah, I love that. It's just like, dear Bobby, you are my least favorite kid. Yeah. So the backhanded compliments is like, dear R.L. Stein, I may not be smart, but I love your books. It's like, dear Betty, you are smarter than you think. You already mastered the art of a backhanded compliment. Your parents must
Yeah,
be
that's the
very
one.
proud. Thanks for
Thanks
nothing.
for nothing.
Yeah,
Oh, I love that.
yeah. And I love that. It's just like a young Asian version of him. It's like, what was that? It's like, that's a goose you bumped, RL. Goosebumps. Yeah. Again, I can tell why he started off with humor first, and then he just kind of like, it just shows how talented he is as a writer. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah, definitely.
yeah. So it's gonna be sad when he actually ends up passing away. Hopefully, he still lives
No, I
on.
don't even want. I don't even want to fucking think of
Oh,
that.
I know. Because God, I don't know how they're gonna continue with because I know some people mention stuff like the IB. I know some people talk about the IBW comics and I think there were like 4 that was released, and honestly, I didn't mind them so much, but some people were like, here we go, politics and, adding certain things in there, and it's just like,
Uh,
yeah, like some people talk stuff like that. But honestly, it's not like here's the thing with Goosebumps as a whole. It's made in mind for everybody, so he tries to make sure there's every different people, there's always a boy or there's a girl, and there's always different kind of like, you know, different parts of growing up and stuff like that. So, he keeps it unique. So it's like I'm trying to think of the word, like a balance of sorts, but that's not really the
an
word I'm thinking.
equilibrium?
I think so.
No.
I'm not sure what the word. Basically, it's just like it's like a culture thing, right? Like he's trying to make sure everyone's included without being exclusive, if that makes sense. So
Inclusive?
yeah, inclusive, But it'll be interesting to see how things go after the fact, and it does suck too that it's interesting because I thought Slappy World would be the final of the books before he decided to go for retirement, but I guess he's just going to be writing until he dies because he's like, nah, I'm going to keep on writing. And I know he has other projects too, so it's not just Goosebumps, but it sucks for
Ride or die.
yeah. I mean, he has the Night of what do you call it? The comic book he's writing, which is Stuff from Nightmares. That's what it was. So he has that, and then he has other stuff too. And then for the Night of Shivers, if we went from having like 4 books a month to just half of that, so now it's like two a month, 2 a year. That's it. You get 2. That's it. So, you know, I think the next one coming up is Goblin Monday, which would be interesting to see how that turns out.
Right.
Because the artwork looks interesting, but it could not be that. If that makes sense, but we'll see.
Yeah, we can only hope.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's been hit. Like some of the books is like hit or miss. It's like sometimes it's great, but then the ending sucks, or it just it's weird to say.
Yeah,
It's hard to, you've been writing that for such a long time. You can only imagine how much difficult it's going to be, right?
right.
Yeah,
Like a good example would be like You Can't Scare Me.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. And I love it too that when they adapt stuff like that, other people will tend to either fix or change certain things, but try to keep it close to the source material.
Yeah,
Like
but then they decide to inject shit that doesn't really belong, and that's like the one thing that really pisses me
yeah,
off.
yeah, I hate when that happens, especially with the type of day and age we live in now, which sucks because
Uh,
you would want to make
I
sure.
fucking hate this timeline.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I grew up the what time I did because I got to miss all that garbage. I feel sorry for kids growing up now, but yeah, but
Oh god.
yeah, but anyways, well, we digress on that subject. But yeah, yeah, I'm going to be curious to see where to go from there. But for now, he's going to live until we die. He's going to be outliving us.
Until we die.
Yeah,
You're
he's
making it
gonna
sound like he's the next Queen Elizabeth.
he's gonna be like 2,000 years old, and he's still gonna be right.
Here's a new book idea. R.L. Stine is secretly a vampire.
Yes, I love it too. It's so weird to see Slap become the icon for Goosebumps because it was just a regular old book story, and then it just became like, nah, Slappy's now the main character. So it's just like I don't know
Get
who
the
or
fuck
what.
out of here, Carly.
Yeah, I feel bad for Curly. I mean, Curly was just made because like, oh, we need a mascot. Yeah, Tim, just draw us something. He was like, okay, here we go. So it's a cool skeleton.
I gotcha.
Perfect.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
His name is
But
Curly, and he's a cool dude.
but we never got his own book, so that sucks. But at least
I know,
Give
right?
Horrortown gave him some love. He was like, he's the crypt keeper.
Yay.
They made him into the crypt keeper. I mean, to be fair, Horrortown did actually give him a book, kinda. They sacrificed another story, and they're like, nah, it's Curly's now.
Oh,
And
you see this
basically,
book right here? It's Curly's story now.
they just
So
slap. They
whoever
just
thought it was
they just take the book and they just slap Curly's face. And then,
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, oh, you're expecting this kid? Well, fuck you. You got Curly.
No, I mean that's a cool thing. We actually got his sisters too, which is interesting. So
And
that
Drool.
and Drool, yeah, Drool. I love Drool's name was basically they took like cool and ghoul and they put it together to make Drool. And I'm like, okay, that's so stupid.
Well, considering that he's like a bulldog, I would assume it's because it's like a common
He
myth that,
drools. Yeah.
yeah,
That's the other
like all
problem.
bulldogs apparently.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, right? I love that. I love also the context of things because I it sucks that they don't do this anymore, but I love how they change the story a little bit when new updates come in. Like in the past, when the
Oh, excuse me.
oh they're nice.
Sorry, I
Everyone
just been
gets
drinking a lot of Coca-Cola.
yeah, everyone gets to hear that now. Uh, anyways,
Enjoy.
yeah. Yeah. So anyways, before we move on to our main topic, it was interesting when it came to like for example the I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was Please Don't Feed the Vampires when he was less like, oh, I don't like dogs, right? Because he was introducing with Fifi. And then as soon as Drool
Right.
came in, he's like, oh, I don't like dogs, except for my buddy Drool.
It's like, I don't like dogs, but Drool, you're an exception. You're
Yeah,
cool. I
but
like you.
imagine if they
You
didn't
don't
change.
bite me.
Imagine if they didn't change that. It's like, oh, I don't like dogs, and then Drool's sitting there. So it's like, what? What about
I
me,
know that Drool
master?
also has like a big crush on Fifi too.
Oh, I love that, especially how stupid he was. Oh, Fifi. Oh, I don't know what you said, Fifi. Yeah, I love the
Yeah,
fact
he was
that
like paying absolutely no attention and he's just like focusing on Fifi the whole
I
time.
I love how they gave the context of everything there. Speaking of, it'd be interesting because I want to talk about the two animals that were introduced as well for the one topic we're talking about. But anyways, I think we're getting off topic a little bit, so I think that should be it for now. So we should move on to our main discussion of the updates type stuff we wanted to talk about, or is there anything else we want to throw in there here?
No, I don't.
Okay, so with that in mind, so now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about our main topic. So when we last
Well, one
discussed,
of our main topics.
yes, one of the two. When we last discussed,
Yes.
we mentioned how we were expecting an update to hit, and sure enough, it finally hit. Now, we won't be talking about this just yet, so that most likely means by the time April comes around, you'll hear our opinions. Because it's going to take
Oh
that
yeah.
long. But with that in mind, what we are going to talk about briefly is the new update that just hit, which is a belated Valentine's, which is not the norm for Goosebumps, called My Hairy Valentine. Now, when I first heard this, I thought, oh, is it My Hairy Adventure? Like, you would
I
think,
thought that too.
but no, it's not. They decided to adapt How I Met My Monster, which is like, I'm sure if you asked anybody in the bingo card, what do you thought the next update was going to be? Nobody picked that. This is our
Yeah.
This is our first official Most Wanted book that isn't a special. So this is interesting to see how them adapting this. And to be fair, I think I know why he adapted this book in particular, because I had the same thought process back in 2019 when they were revealing Werewolf of Fever Swamp, because when they were saying Werewolf of Fever Swamp was going to be the first update Valentine's Day themed, I was like, well, that's not going to make sense because I thought Werewolf of Fever Swamp is more of a permanent update, right? Why would it be a limited time update, right? But then I saw what they did and was like, okay, so it's a half thing. But I thought, well, if you're thinking werewolves, maybe How I Met My Monster, right? Because there's a werewolf character in the front that's like has a shirt that says "I love wolves," and I bet you he looked at that and was just like, "Oh, love, that's a Valentine's Day. Let's do that." And what's funny
And I
about
guess there's also something about Pixel wanting to make Valentine's Day related to werewolves for some reason. I have no
this
idea
is our
why,
second.
but
This is
that
our
just seems to be a thing.
if we had a nickel every time Pixel made a werewolf thing for Valentine's Day, we would have two nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it happened twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I would say that this is basically the spiritual successor to Werewolf Fever, Valentine Night Fever, because I don't think we'll ever get that as a book adaptation because there's not a lot there to kind of adapt to, right? Because the main feature was a
Oh,
20 minutes update. So I think this was their way of kind of going like, well, Werewolf and Valentine's Day, here, user's exception. And it's funny they picked that book in particular because if you've read that book, you would know that werewolves had nothing to do with that book. It was just generic monster. They didn't explain it, just like a monster, right? But
oh well. I
yeah,
guess they just went with the title or went with the cover and be
That's
like, "Here,
that's
fuck
that's
you,
that's
werewolves."
that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did. And I guess it's like, well, werewolves are technically a monster. It's like, yeah, I guess. But what I found interesting too is the cover of the original cover for that had like the monster is wearing a shirt that says "I love wolves." Originally, it said "I love werewolves," but they wanted him to change that to wolves, and I'm just like, why? Why wouldn't he want to be happy that he's aware? Like, I love werewolves. It's like, a shirt that says "I love humans." It's just like, why not be happy for who you are?
Damn, there goes those censorship pigs
Yeah,
censoring everything again.
yeah, I'm not sure why. And yeah, it's funny that it's basically that. And I love it too because this, although they're adapting this book in particular, they're taking a lot of freedom of creativity with this because this is basically taking place after the book. Because our main character, Bean, or sorry, Noah, is a character who long story short, I'm gonna explain this in my part zero, but he's a character who is very timid and he's scared and he's been haunted by this like vision of a monster coming after him, right? And he could have sworn that
Yeah,
it's like a mystery of like who like is there really a monster? Is this new kid Monroe a monster? Like you never know type thing. And then he finds out
yeah,
his new friend as well as his old friend were monsters themselves.
yeah.
I love it too because after Liza basically said to him, "It's like, oh, I'm a monster." It's just like, "What are you doing this for?" It's just like, "I'm trying to help you, B." It's just like, "Oh, for friends don't tell their friends." And he goes ahead and he goes, "I'm a bro. And Liza is a monster." He's like, "Oh, friends don't tell their friends." It's like, what the hell? So,
Okay, so one thing I do want to say is when you do end up editing the video, for every time you say Bean, I want to see like a fucking GIF of Mr. Bean.
I was gonna do that, the dancing thing with Mr. Loma Loma, Mr.
Just
Boombastic.
have him do like, yeah, just have him like do really random shit, like driving a car from a couch on top of his car,
Yeah, it's like,
or
my friends
like
call me
have
Bean.
like the fucking turkey on his head.
It's funny too because his parents also call him Bean. I thought it was like like a kid nickname, like, oh, Bean, like making fun of him, but that just turned
Oh,
into a nickname.
Mr. Bean.
And I'm gonna assume I'm gonna give a guess why the name Bean became a nickname is because of his last name, Beanstalk, and it's spelled Bien, not Bean. But
Oh my
it's
god,
interesting.
his last name is Beanstalk.
Yes, Noah
Oh
Beanstalk.
my fucking god, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is. I'm like,
Why is his name Beanstalk?
I
Who
don't
names
know.
their kid that?
I don't know. That's their last name. So I don't know. I guess the father's like, why would anyone be named that?
Yeah, right.
Shrug. His father is like an erotic pet store owner, which I don't know what that entails, and then his mother is a rocket scientist. So it's like, okay, interesting parents. But anyways, they live in this
Interesting dynamic in there.
yeah, so anyways, they live in this complex of what is called the Sturm House, which is weird because it's
Yeah.
described as an apartment. So it's like, why would you call it a house? But I'm guessing it's supposed to be a townhouse of sorts. That's what
Yeah,
they
yeah. I've seen or like a duplex.
yeah, that's what I thought too, because especially that's I think that's what they also did because in the game they basically made it look like a duplex or a townhouse of sorts, like a connection. Like I've seen
Yeah.
apartments that like that, so it's like okay, so I guess I can see where the house name came in. But it's interesting how the conclusion, the end, the reveal was the fact that everyone in that place is a monster, including Beans' parents. And it turns out that the friends of his was trying to scare the monster out of him. But then she's like, all right, let me help you instead. Let me give you this called the Monster Helper. So he drinks that and he gets to turn into a monster. And then he looks at himself and it's like the monster he was fearing was the monster. It was him his all along the way. He met a monster and it was him.
It was like his spirit animal.
Yes, it's the monsters. It's the friends we made along the way. Yeah. So, a lot of people's like they love the like from one of the reviews, it's like people loved the book how it was, but then the ending was kind of like a like a stupid twist ending. But I'm just like, it's not bad. And then of course they were like, now he's a bunch of buddies. I'm assuming they decided to go with a werewolf angle with this time around because of just by judging of how far we've gone so far in the story, it seems as though it's gonna be his old friends are a bit clingy onto his on Noah,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and I think
yeah.
part
I noticed that too.
yeah, it's funny. It's just like this Lucy is like a Lisa type. It's like, oh, what about that Dustin? It's a Monroe. It's like, come.
Yeah, right. Is that the Monroe of this town here? Hmm?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like,
I know.
bro,
It's like,
chill the fuck out, man.
calm down. Yeah, I think,
He just moved here. Like,
yeah.
calm the fuck down.
I know. That's the one thing too. I don't know much about when it comes to wolves, but I know there's a pack mentality, so I'm wondering if
Yeah,
that's the angle they're going with because it's like, well, we're like werewolves and we're like the best of pals. Like even the last prize, which is like a statue of sorts, is like you can tell, right? And especially the scene you get is called the Last Stand Amigos scare.
yeah,
So, or the Sternum Amigos Last Scare, I think is what it's called.
yeah,
So, yeah, I gotta love the names it gives to these. It's just like we have to make a different name for this apartment, to this scare scene. It's just like, the final scare, staying so tense, So it's interesting to see where they go from here. And yeah, we won't be talking too much about this update particularly right now because again, this has just started. It was late and it's still glitchy and I'm surprised that
yeah.
I'm surprised the guy hasn't said anything just yet. I'm gonna guess it's because he's on vacation at the moment, because I know sometime last year a lot of them tend to go on vacation around this time. I'm not sure why. It might be something to do with maybe something going down South America. There might be some sort of holiday. I know it's like summertime-ish around there, so maybe that might be the case. That may would make sense. But yeah, it's kind of hard to think.
I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for the day that those kids like come across Will.
That's the one. Maybe that might actually come into the storyline. We don't know yet.
Oh,
That would be
well,
interesting.
I
And
mean,
that's the thing
I
too,
mean, Will.
because we actually got to
Will
see.
doesn't seem like. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, yeah, Will is weird because Will is more of a feral wolf, and yet these two kids are more like actual werewolves or what I call weredogs.
Or Dogman. But what I was gonna say is that as far as I know, like, um, for some reason, I don't know why, but a lot of the characters that don't have like a whole lot of interaction in quite a while, they just end up having like the most random quests involving like a specific event.
Yeah,
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm glad they got some attention and shit, but it's
you
just
mean like Susie with this so cute animation with the quest line for the Masked Mutant plushie? Like, why the Masked Mutant
I
plushie?
wish I just fucking wish it was animated. I swear.
I know I'm gonna be joking about that as soon as like once that goes on sale and I go like, oh boy, I can't wait, and I'm like, no. But
Yeah, right.
although I know this already, I just like to like I usually like to play around with making jokes
Yeah,
during the time, but ahead of time it would be great.
because the reason why I wish it was animated because like if you noticed from Trapped in the Circus of Fear, the characters that did have like certain actions for specific things don't have those anymore, and those are the ones that like disappear with it when they reach the item that they're supposed to interact with.
That might come back when it comes as a special book because we have yet to see how that turns out because currently right now I think they're focusing on getting some stuff back. Speaking of, by the way, Erasmo pointed out something interesting, which was Slappy has a unique task that is not shown, but it does drop currency, and that is dropping wedding bells, which might be saying or suggesting that the next little update in March might be the book that we are really tempted to talk about, but not just yet. But I don't know if that's the case. It seems like the next event will most likely be taking place sometime in April, around the middle of. So it'd be interesting to see what theme they might go with around that time, but we could speculate next episode. But yeah, it's interesting to to see that they decide to have that out of nowhere. And last time something like that happened, Mrs. Dark had a task called Being Susie, and yet the book wasn't there. So that could be something going on, right? So it'd be unique to see if that does become the case, because then there'll be fun episode 3 to talk about. You could be like, oh boy, I can't wait to rip this one. But not just yet. But it's just interesting with this event as far as things go. It seems like they have a template where they're going with, because it seems like the promenade area is not going to change anymore. They want to keep it to the Be Afraid
Too
area.
much.
Be Afraid is going to be the permanent, so now that's how the promenade's going to look. Um, the the actual logo for, or the background for the event, is going to be the same, because I think they're trying to save as much money as possible, which, I'll give them credit for it, because they want to they want to focus on the more important stuff. So I get it, right? So they have to try to manage what's more important. So it's like, is it really important to kind of do a color change? Not really. So whatever. But
What
yeah,
about like finally removing the snow off the buildings?
it's still February. It's still winter, so it's okay for
Well,
now.
technically, yeah, but
If it doesn't
oh,
change
okay.
if it doesn't change in April, then we can complain. But yeah, but
unless you're like,
wait,
unless you're like
what?
someone in Winnipeg who's like fucking used to it by then.
What snow, by the way? What, the snow on the buildings? Okay, and there's no snow on the ground, so I don't care. I'm still gonna complain about that, but it's like, yeah, it's never coming back, so it's like, whatever, fine. I get it. They don't want to, they there was one time they actually did change the promenade with the snow stuff, so at least that was cool. But I'm surprised it didn't change. Like, here's the thing: I understand they don't want to make a new asset for the promenade. I understand that, but why not use old assets? Like, there was one that they made for Valentine Night Fever, which was like heart shapes and everything like that. Why didn't they do that? I guess because they wanted to have it, I guess, set with the, like, I guess the promenade, they wanted to make it look like an actual apartment building ish stuff. So, yeah,
Right.
that's my guess, anyways. But yeah, it's always interesting to see what items you decide to bring into there. Like, I love the fact that one of the werewolf plushies, it's just like, you had to have the, it's like the raccoon, like the garbage raccoon. It's like, well, you mentioned the book, it's gotta be an item. Got the werewolf in the cover, gotta be a werewolf plushie. Yeah, and that Lucy's apparently has a task with it, so it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. But yeah, but one of the weird things is that, so they decide to adapt wolf flower as the raw currency, but I'm surprised they don't call it wolf's bane, because that's exactly what it is. I
Right.
guess they don't want to confuse. It's like, oh well, we're not collecting the character. It's like, I guess.
That's just silly.
Yeah, why would we collect wolf's bane? It's like, that's what the flower is. Whatever. But yeah, it's unique. I'll give them credit. At least the raw item you can get is the actual flower itself, which is like, I can see multiples of this, so it's like, good. So far, good job. You haven't screwed it up yet. You haven't introduced an item that you can only need one of, and you just get a bunch of them that look stupid. So far so good. The one thing, two things. The the supplier for the event area. I don't know why it's a watermelon gumball machine. I guess they wanted to make it like it's called a Valentine's Day store. It's like, it doesn't look like a Valentine's Day store. It looks like a candy store, right? And I
Yeah,
joke
it's like a
about
standard candy store.
and I joke about this because every time I look at it, I always think of that one song by I forgot his last name, but I know his first name's Harry. You know, it was on the radios a bunch of times. I think back in 21, it's like watermelon sugar high. It's like too much of that. I'll probably be joking about it in the video, but there's that. But so far, the special items you get in the we'll probably talk more about this when we get to the next episode. But I don't
Yeah,
want to make a mention
I
of this now. Why are the items small? Why are the buildings tiny? Like Noah's car. Why is it ridiculously small? It's like a one by one pixel. It's just like why is he a small man? Is he like a little what is this for ants? Is this for little ants?
and I like how the car kind of reminds me of Goofy's car from a Goofy movie. On the road.
I love that movie. I love that movie. It's so great. Especially with the God. So much stuff of that one. It's so great. I'm surprised they haven't updated that with Disney Magic Kingdom, but maybe in the future. But that's another topic of another day. But yeah, it certainly does
Oh
remind
yeah,
me of Goofy.
we need Max.
Yeah, Max. Yeah, because they updated with the other games with different characters. Like they introduced DuckTales and whatnot. So it's like, come on.
Yeah.
We know you've been doing stuff for TV exclusives. So come on, Max. We need him. We need him. We need PJ and whatever. Yeah,
PJ.
yeah.
And the fucking guy that's like obsessed with like
Cheese.
the yeah, the cheese.
Yeah.
I
I
forgot his
will
name.
say though, I think I know we were talking about the whole crushes and whatnot stuff there. I can see why people look at Roxanne and be like that could be their crush when they were younger. I think it wasn't mine,
Yeah.
but I can see why. It was an interesting story. I will give it that. Like the growing up story, kids like going through like he wanted to try to hang out with this girl, but he's like, shit, my dad wanted to take me because he feared that I was going to go into juvie. So. No, I'll go the fishing trip like my old dad did back in the old days. Come
Oh,
on,
yo,
Maxie. Yeah,
come on, Max boy. We're gonna go see the animatronic band. Yo.
I love that. The crappy like, who's your favorite possum? Aw, I know you need a big Don't you even think about
Oh,
it. You're all good
okay.
inside. Beat it.
Slight side thing. Okay, I don't know if you know this, but there was like a meme that was like making the rounds on Twitter
Yeah,
at
I
one
saw
point.
this one too. It's like draw your characters like this. Your favorite
Yeah, draw your comfortable characters in this scene. Is
in
the
this
first one was
pose.
like Patrick Star staring at his hand. Another one was just Goofy, and the other one in the back was
Was
like a pony or
Fluttershy.
some shit.
Fluttershy, I think
Yeah.
that was. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
I
I
always,
drew mine. I drew mine, and my comfort characters were Marina Silverwing from the Silverwing cartoon. I don't know if you remember that. That was also on Teletoon.
yeah, yeah. I think I remember that one.
The March Hare from Disney's Alice in Wonderland.
Nice.
He was like he was my absolute favorite. Like I connected with him a lot more. And
Yeah,
then finally it was
he's
like
great.
Anti Cosmo from Fairly Odd Parents.
Nice. It would be funny to see a horror town version of that.
And like
Like
in
you
the
see
back of the car,
Andy, Susie, and then I don't know who else they would be tagging along.
and like in the back of the car, like I made them like grumpy because like Anti wanted to eat, and she has like this big pile of fucking fast food behind her. And she's just eating a sandwich with her feet.
Yeah, of course, because that's the thing. That's a good thing. Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't do a version of that for maybe by the time this episode comes out that he might actually do this, but it'd be interesting to see a version of that with Horror Towns. Like Susie's driving as Goofy, and then you got Susie looking at the hand. I'm not sure what he would put in the background though, but they're driving in their RV car.
No, no, no. What I would do is I would have like two characters be upset, and meanwhile Susie in the back just holding on to the Mass Mutant plushie with like Christmas shit everywhere.
Yeah, no, that would be perfect. I'm trying to think unless you want to do Shock. in that version. No, because I know Shock was introduced in this video. I don't know why he brought him in there. It's just like, oh, we need a chemist. I know, let's bring Shock. I mean, he's a bad guy. It's just like, yeah, but he's in robotics, and he's an
Yeah, he's
engineer.
a robotics engineer.
Yeah, he has
Like, as
nothing to
far
do
as I
with
know,
chemistry. I love the stupid joke though that at the beginning is just like, oh, hi Slappy, I was just thinking of you, periodically.
periodically.
And it's like, you've been thinking of me? It's like, no, what? No, I'm thinking of
No,
uranium,
I'm
man.
thinking about the elements. I'm thinking about uranium. Stop being weird, man.
Because you want,
Like, I was
yeah,
actually
because
planning
you
on
want.
doing a comic about that, where like as soon as like Shock goes away, he was like, I was thinking about him periodically, but I don't want him to know that.
I'm too
And
scared.
then
Like,
Slappy says, like, damn, he's fucking weird.
yeah, just like I didn't watch it. It's like, yeah, God, cringe. Yeah, it's not too bad though. Not yet, anyways. I'll be curious to see how this story turns out. But yeah, I guess in part three we'll talk more about that as far as how things go. But
Right.
I guess is there anything you want to add from this before we move on?
No, I think we took up too much time on this one.
Okay, so we'll finish our discussion part three of the next episode. But speaking of how we were talking about with Andy and whatnot, when we talk about our main one of the main subjects. So last episode we mentioned how we talked a bit about Monster Blood, and I said if we didn't get the update by then we would talk about that. So why don't we talk about Monster Blood as an update? The characters got
Yes.
introduced and things of that nature. So yeah, interesting kind of premise, and especially how they decided to tie in the world pandemic into this as well. Be like, oh, everyone in their houses. It's a quarantine.
This is a quarantine episode now.
Well, you heard the player. You heard the mayor. You stay in your room. Not like you were going out anyways.
Yeah, you're just staying here playing our game.
Yeah.
Isn't that a
If
coincidence?
only there was. If only there was a game. Like if only there was a person who would play. Wait, that's right. You gamer, the ultimate gamer. Why don't you help us, will ya? Yeah. I love Curly in this one, especially with like Andy causing mischief, and he's just like, "Oh, but our player did so much hard work getting us down. You're messing it up."
It's like, why are you fucking ruining everything, you
Yeah,
crazy kid?
yeah. Speaking of, yeah, I feel so idiotic when I first played the game, and no one. I think it might have been you who pointed this out to me because at first I was like, it's like I'm not gonna. It's like what was it? Dustin was talking to Evan. It was like, why are you out? You're supposed to be in, like, we're in quarantine. It's just like, I'm not gonna do anything with this quarantine. And I was like, what are you talking about, quarantine? He's like your age, you brat. And someone pointed out to me like, no, he's basically mocking quarantine. I'm just like, oh, that's what he, yeah,
Oh, I don't think it was me, but
oh,
I think it might have been somebody else.
it was Erasmo. That's what it was. He was the one who pointed it out. Yeah.
It was one of us. If I did, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was probably Erasmo because I was talking to him about it, and he was just like, "Well, I think that's what we were going with." And I'm just like, "Oh shit, you're right. That's what he was doing." God, like quarantine. It's like, no, it was quarantine. Yeah, yeah. That was
Quarantine, schmorantine.
our
Yeah.
first April Fool's update, which is interesting. I love that they used Monster Blood as the element of that.
I mean, it kind of makes sense when you really think about it.
Yeah, and I did bring mention of some interesting facts behind the scenes. I know I had a mind idea because during this time, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel was going on, and one of the updates they had, I think back in January, was an apocalyptic version, and they had one of the villain characters, like the merge mashup type thing, as the rival character. So they had the racetrack be like Mad Max in a sense, right? And I brought that
Right.
up to him. And I'm just like, it would be interesting if we kind of had something similar to that, like maybe even like having like it be a junkyard or something like that. So he took that element idea and he turned it into what we know as today. And here's the thing too. You, despite him saying it's supposed to be a junkyard for the promenade, it doesn't look like a junkyard because one third of it one third of it is the actual, junkyard or the toy shop turned junkyard, I guess. And then the other
Yeah,
2/3 of it is something else entirely. And the
I
reason
know
why,
that another portion of it was the Dark Falls Chemical Labs.
yeah, I love they brought that back from the dumpster and it looks god awful. And I love it that
Yeah, it's
I love it that when they brought that back as a special book, they didn't bring back it as the new one. They just like, nah, the old one, here you go.
I guess they wanted to put it or keep it like in a um, chronological stasis to go and coincide with Monster Blood.
Yeah, I mean, I get it too, right? Because it makes sense. It's interesting that they brought that back. But this is what I was talking about before. Like when they bring stuff from the past and put into this update, the new update, it kind of screws it up when they want to bring it back as a book. Because in this case, in the story, you got this chemical plant where it's supposed to be this nice, clean, pristine chemical plant, and in the original playthrough back in 2019, that's what it looked like, right? But then you buy this
Right.
book and you get the Monster Blood version of it. And it's like, oh, we're going to this clean new energy.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you talking about? Look at it. It looks god awful. It looks like a toxic waste dump. Right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And when they did bring it back, they're like, crap, we can't use because that's being used for, the book it was supposed to be used for, which was Welcome to Dead House. So what they did instead was, hey, you know that prize we gave you back in the past? Yeah, the Monster Blood house, the one that was the Warren house, the Ward house. Yeah, that
Surprise! It's a crafting station.
it's now a crafting station. Yeah, I love that. And I love it too that they basically took that's the other thing about this update that I thought was weird. So before then we had the Beast Beneath the Sink update. And
Yeah.
the a crafting of that was the caravan. And one of the items near the house that's supposed to be boarded up was supposed to be the Warren house, right? And they basically took that to the next update and they're like, all right, let's fill this house with monster blood. So it's just, I don't know how you get items from that, but okay, sure. You just go in the
I
monster
mean, you
blood and
can. I
grab
mean,
it.
you can get like large ass samples of Monster Blood to craft with.
Yeah, and then here comes Andy who steals the RV and turns it into her own thing.
Yes,
Then
I'm
like
gonna put a big fucking A on it because not only
then
does it
anarchy. It's an
mean
A for
anarchy,
awesome.
but it also means me because my
Andy.
name starts with an A.
Yeah, that reminds
I'm
me of
Andy the Anarchist.
that reminds me of Glove and Boots, where it's just like, there was a YouTube thing for I think 11 Boots, and there was a joke with one of the characters. It's like, see, he has E for Ernie, and then the guy who is like his name is Mario, right? So it's like
Yeah.
he has E for Ernie, and then me, and then you have my band with M for me. Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting, like with the premise of that, but yeah, it's unique. I'll give it that much, though. As I mentioned in my in my teaser, or not my teaser, my what do you call it? My quiz that I put out on my community tab. I mentioned and I said to people, why do you think there was no animations for Cuddles or Trigger? And the answer turned out
Right.
was because they wanted to make them as NPC characters, but then they also wanted to make them as spawnables. So you can't have a non-playable character be a scene item, right? So they're like, crap, let's put them as characters now. So now they have no animations, which sucks.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, they couldn't even give them one animation. They could have given them one pathetic animation like how they did with yeah, Connor. But no, so that sucks. I mean, they gave him quests, so I mean, there's that. But still, you know, you got you got Trigger, which is the good boy, and then you got Cuddles.
Oh yeah.
I love Cuddles because
He's like
his animations is simply him just running around, while Trigger is just
okay.
happy.
Yeah, like the thing about like during the trick or trap event with you actually get to see into their personalities, and Trigger is like this really happy, dopey character that just like he wants to do anything to make Evan happy.
Yeah, like
That
a
like
normal
going through
dog,
the
right?
trash to get him gifts and shit.
Yeah.
He's like the goodest boy. And meanwhile, Cuddles, on the other hand, apparently it's revealed that Cuddles it belongs to Andy.
Yeah, or he basically just took it. He's like,
Yeah, and
here's
then
our class pet, and she never gave it back. So it's just like she doesn't care.
yeah, it's like, oh, cool, class pet. I guess it's mine now,
Yeah, basically.
forever.
Yeah,
And then like
forever.
the yeah, and the personality with Cuddles is that he's like a really speedy character, like he's on speed or something. It's like, oh, gotta go fast, gotta go fast, gotta go. Like he thinks he's fucking Sonic the Hedgehog.
I think it just shows the personality of like hamsters that they think one mind type thing. But he seems to be he's the only smart one out of the group, out of all the characters.
Cuddles?
Yeah, because he's the only one he brought basically talked to Trigger and told him this is like, wow, you're right. Thanks. It's like, what? Oh, sorry, I wasn't thinking. I was, I was looking at my new ball. Yeah. So, because, Drew was trying to make Curly, like, make him happy. So he was trying to talk to a
Yeah.
bunch of people.
Well, yeah, he was asking the other pets on how they make their masters happy.
Especially with Wolfsbane, which is like, oh, good. And
Oh yeah,
I love
Wolfsbane doesn't like Droll in the slightest.
no, I mean, he doesn't like anybody in the slightest, to tell you the truth. What is
Well, except Conrad.
yeah, I mean, well, Conrad's his master, so really. But it's interesting too. We get a sneak peek at the ghost dog. He was there briefly,
Oh
so I was like, okay.
yeah, I actually had this head canon where like occasionally like the ghost dog and fucking Wolfsbane would occasionally like fight with each other, but Wolfsbane knows he can't like fucking attack him because he's a ghost.
Yeah.
Like I always thought that would be like a really interesting dynamic where they just like growl at each other.
Yeah, I love how throw a tangent here. I love when there was last episode with Wolfsbane and Will going at each other, and then Connors is like, "Ah, he's not the wolf that attacked me," and then he just basically just had pauses with his angry face on. It's just like, yeah, he feels like an idiot now. And then Will's
It's
like,
like,
"Oh,
okay,
come on!"
I guess you get to live.
It's like, "Oh, come on! Why you gotta stop the fight? I was having fun."
Why you cock block me, bro?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Evan is such a brat, though.
Oh, I honestly like Evan.
Yeah, he's a Dennis the Menace type. That
Except
was
more of a douchebag.
yeah, definitely. It's like as Curly puts it, if Slappy is to Mr. Wood, Dustin is to Evan is to Dustin. So it's like that's an interesting dynamic to look at. But yeah, the whole
No,
prank.
no, 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 no. I think you may have mixed it up because Mr. Wood actually teams up with Evan
Yeah,
because
that's what I
it
meant.
was
That's like the opposite, like a yin to yang type of thing.
yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting that that's a Spawn scene, right? You got Evan basically terrorizing people when he kind of was big, and then you got Trigger being happy. I look, I get being terrified of Evan because he was just stomping around and acting like a brat. But I don't get why you would be afraid of Cuddles and Trigger, if anything, because Cuddles is just happy to be out and about, while Trigger is just giving people kisses.
Well, think
Ah,
of it like this. There's like a huge chance that you get crushed under the feet of a giant ass dog. And in the book, Cuddles is actually kind of a vindictive little asshole.
yeah, I know. I mean, that's the one thing I'll give this update for Monster Blood is that they happen to manage to do one, two, and three in there. So the spawn scenes are representation
Yeah.
of the like characters that got grown from the Monster Blood system.
Yeah. They just like merged like all three books into one. The only one they didn't do was like Monster Blood 4, which
What are you
I'm
talking
kind of
about?
glad they didn't.
What are you talking about? There was only 3 books.
Oh, I get it. We don't talk about the fourth book. I get
We
it.
don't talk about number four.
We don't talk about blue monster blood. Nope.
Four.
But I
Yeah. That
and
was such a weird ass book. It's
oh yeah.
oh,
But
slug monsters
I
that
find it
multiply. But what's interesting too is that it's given the concept that Monster Blood could be different colors and has different effects. Like I was looking at something that they might have suggested that the red monster blood turned people into vampires because that there was this unknown substance for Please Don't Feed the Vampires that is suggested that it might be a monster blood variant, but there's no guarantee of it. And
I mean, I can understand what you're saying because, yeah.
yeah, because we got the blue one, which is like this is blood was that multiplies into slug creatures.
Well, the blue monster blood is just like aliens. Like I remember
Yeah,
when
it has
like
nothing.
the original monster blood, it was just like a cursed toy.
Yeah, I remember someone talking about the worst Goosebump books, and they were talking about that one. It was just like it had nothing to do with Monster Blood. It's like he was wanted to make a book about slugs with big kissable lips, and it just multiplies it like And yeah, it's interesting. And
I think what's also interesting is for some reason they decided to add "Beware the purple peanut butter" in it.
yeah, I guess it's because of the whole growing and shrinking type thing. I guess just to make it and the whole pranking thing. It's like, yeah, yeah, aha, just a prank, bro. I made you small. Now I'm gonna squish you. But
It's just a prank, bro. It's just a prank, bro.
I was joking though. With Mr. Mortman, it's like when he shrinks, it's just like, oh, it's gonna be heaven for him because it's like all the bugs is huge. I had a whole meal. Yeah,
It's
but
like, oh, I'm gonna eat fine tonight.
yeah, and it's just like, and then everyone just growing and shrinking, and just like, okay, what this? It's like, wait a minute, this product is toxic. It's like, no, really? The product that's causing you to grow and shrink is toxic? Wow, I wouldn't have never thought of that. Coming from a place like Chemicals Dark Falls, nah, that place looks like the cleanest. It looks like it has no violations whatsoever.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was advertised as giving off the cleanest energy ever. I mean, never mind all those zombies that just wanted to fucking kill you in the last update.
Yeah,
Nah, it's
yeah,
clean energy.
I love the
We're all
top.
about green energy.
I love that Compton Dolls came in out of nowhere again. The mayor is suffering with depression, and then Compton Dolls comes in. It's like, real estate, not for real. It's free real estate, baby.
It's free real estate.
Yeah, it's funny too. Like another one of Compton Dolls talking points again. But yeah, it's interesting with him being involved and whatnot. And not only that, but also they wanted to bring in Carly Beth in as well.
Yeah,
Which is interesting because it's like I'm tired of waiting for Halloween. This is my holiday. It's like okay, because we'll never get a
I
month.
like how they.
We'll never
I
get.
like how they made like Compton Don's like the source of like all the things that is going wrong in Horrortown during this event. Like he was the one responsible for causing like the whole place to go into fucking disarray and everything.
Yeah, yeah. I love it too that they had the different pranking stuff type thing, and they keep on trying to one up each other, and I think eventually
And how they, and why they keep clowning on Slappy a whole bunch.
that was my favorite part. Like it's basically it's just like let's just mock Slappy. I'm Slappy.
Yeah, right.
Am I a driftwood? I don't know. I'm not a dummy. You're not a dummy. the
I'm
worst,
Slappy and I'm a real boy.
the worst thing you can do, give kids that like basically got laughed at by children. And
God.
I love Mr.
And
Wood.
then like
Mr. Wood is
Slappy
just like,
tries to get back at them by trying to eat the monster blood.
yeah, and it's just like, why doesn't it work? It's like, well, maybe because you don't got real blood.
You don't
Maybe
you
because you
don't
don't got
got
no
internal
veins.
organs, puppet man.
Maybe because you're not
They
real,
fucking
boy.
clown him again. It's like I'm Slappy and I'm not more than just a dummy. I'm also stupid. And Slappy's like, he's like trying to keep his rage.
I love Mr. Wood. He's just laughing at this. Like, I love this kid. You did something I was never able to do. Yeah, but then he comes back and this manages to be like, tries to be the king of Horrortown, but then that backfired.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, then it's
because yeah, I remember he gets like ignored like so much by fucking RB Faraday
yeah,
because he was like so busy like making his movie and he just like fucking conned Slappy of all of his fucking money.
the mayor's money or something like that, the town's resources.
It's like, yeah, fuck you. I'm gonna make my own movie. You're
I
not
love
in
it.
it.
I love it too. It's just like, Slappy literally just said, "I'm gonna kill you," and he's just like, "I don't think so. I know the words to put a certain dummy back to sleep," and then that scared the shit out. He's like, "Oh, okay,
It's like, oh, he means business, man.
yeah."
I ain't fucking with that.
I talked to your master, the wizard. He told me everything. Speaking of wizards, though, I just remind myself with it's like I mentioned this with the AI stuff with wizards at
Oh,
Arby's. I can just imagine, like we have yet to have a fast food place, but it would have been hilarious to see, like like Zarwood
yeah,
and the boy,
Clarissa and Vanessa and Zarwed, like,
Zarwood
just
coming in. It's
causing
like, we
havoc and
gotta
stuff.
rock it down to Electra Avenue, and
Yeah,
then
they're
we
just like
get
filling a cauldron up with fucking Mountain Dew and slam dunking basketballs.
and turning it like having big fireplace, yeah, and then having a cashier who's just done with everything, a new character.
I can imagine like I can imagine the cashier being Andy because like since she lives in an RV, she needs to like be able to get money for like food and shit, and she's like stuck with a dead end job.
She's the type of person who would also steal food as well. Like she would just sneak it
Oh
up.
yeah, like I can imagine it similar to like that one episode of or that one scene in Family Guy where like the Stewie was like temporarily working at like a fucking fast food place when
Yeah,
everyone else
I
was gone,
remember. Yeah, I
and he
remember that. And yeah, it's interesting too. That speaking with Andy, it's interesting with one of those items. One of the one of the tasks she had was basically hangover, and it was like 36 hours. It's like, oh, funny. It's like that's too long, but it's like, oh, funny joke. She's just hanging a hangover for about a day and a half.
we don't even know how old she is.
And she's probably old enough to drink, so or else,
Oh, she's 21.
I'm assuming if she gets a hangover, because I don't think the devs would want to promote underage drinking now, would they? Mm, that would be unlikely. So, I mean, at least that confirms it. And that, the fact that he calls her a cool aunt, so I'm assuming that she has to be old enough to be, you know, had a sister related to Evan or something like that. I mean, I don't know the whole thing. I don't know.
We
Maybe.
also have to stop to consider that she's an anarchist, so she probably just doesn't give a shit about the rules, and she just drinks anyway.
Oh no, I mean she
Like,
does.
oh well,
I mean,
fuck you, I'm just gonna do it anyway.
yeah, I mean she technically yes, and that would be true. Except she does kind of as soon as the cops get involved, she's like, oh shit, gotta lay low, gotta rock out.
It's like, here, drink some water. They won't notice.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's interesting though with the whole premise with that. I'm trying to think what else to talk about when it comes to Monster Blood, because I'm sure there was something else to think about, but I can't for the life of me recall. Hmm.
I don't think there is, but I feel like we talked enough about this one, honestly.
All right, so I guess that's it for Monster Blood then. So I guess we'll just move on. Unless
Yes,
there's something else you want to add,
for Monster Blood.
or anything in general.
No, good.
All right, I guess with that comes our main feature presentation, now would it? Right, so if you've seen our last episode, we teased a teaser of sorts of what our next topic was going to be, and it had something to do with Adam West as the Galloping Gazelle, basically calling it quits. He's like, "Oh, I'm done. I can't do this no more." He tripped one time, and
I'm
he's like,
too
"Oh,
old.
I'm too old for this. You're on your own, kid." Yeah.
You're on your own, kid.
Speaking of, I actually saw the Goosebump crew interviewed the guy who did play the Masked Mutant, and my God,
Yeah.
he loved that role, and I can tell. It's like, bring back Max
Well,
Mutant.
obviously.
They're like, yeah, I totally see that. That he also recently interviewed the guy who voiced the Slappy, the dummy, which was funny too.
Was this the voice of Slappy from the TV show or
The
from the
TV
Fox
show, the TV
Bumpers?
show,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It was interesting too because he was a lot of them basically were like surprised to see people wanted to talk to him. It's like, hey, wow, Goosebump stuff, right? Like even talking about what's his name, Kristen Anderson. Like I might be wrong, but the kid who was in who played as Anakin Skywalker. If you know who I'm talking about.
I think it. Oh man.
Yeah, but you know
Like
what I'm
when
talking
he
about.
was a kid?
Yeah, when he was a kid, when he was playing Night of the Living Dummy 3.
Oh, him.
Yeah, yeah. There was a story where somebody took a picture of him in that episode and gave it to him to sign. He was like, "Oh my God!" It's like he wouldn't think like he's expecting somebody to come in with like Star Wars merch or something like that, but not that obscure thing. But there are people out there who's like grew up with this stuff and he loves this, right? I mean, and then the guy
Yeah.
too who voiced Slappy, he was known for voicing Wolverine in the cartoons, right? So that's what he's known for. But a lot of people are like, oh, do the Slappy voice, and he still does it. It's just funny. It's not very nice
Nice.
that you were to throw me in the trash like that.
It wasn't very nice of you to dump me in the sewer like that.
That whole thing. I can hurt your family in 100 many ways. Count the ways. Uh,
Maybe I could hurt you and a family in 100 ways.
yeah, God. He's probably the best voice of Slappy. I'll be honest. Like he
Oh yeah,
definitely fits.
definitely.
He's definitely fits it. But anyways, if you didn't get the thumbnail of this already, then allow me to go ahead and have my co-host introduce what the book we're talking about is going to be.
And I'm gonna do it in song.
No, please no.
Comic. Oh, come on, it's fun. Comic shop. Comic
Comic
shop
shop
of
of
horrors.
horrors,
Bop, bop.
little
The
comic
comic
shop
shop
of
of
horrors.
terror. Call the cops. Comic shop of horrors. No, no. Oh, oh, whoa. Comic shop. Comic shop of horrors. Bop, bop. The comic shop of terror. Watch 'em drop. Comic shop of horrors. Oh, no, no. Whoa.
I can totally. It's like I'm kind of reminded of the dentist song. Is like I'm gonna be a dentist. Open up, say ah. Uh, yes,
But
so
yeah, it's comic shop of horrors.
Little Comic Shop of Horrors, yes. So that is an interesting book out of nowhere, and you wanted to do this time around. So I'm intrigued to see
Yes.
what you wanted to go about this and see where we go from here. So you've seen how I did mine, so I'm going to be curious to see how you do yours, and I'm going to be the one to go and critique you with the choices you made, just like how you did with me. It's like, oh, rotten dust. Why is there rotten dust? What?
Okay.
What? It makes prune
So
juice.
okay, so the first thing that I'm going to start off with that you didn't on yours was event currency.
Yeah, to be fair, I ended up editing myself in to fix that. So I did technically, but no, I did forget it during our conversation. Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the event currency of this is going to be the art brushes that you
Oh,
use to make comic books and shit,
okay. That's interesting.
and the raw item that you get is going to be called a comic page.
Okay, so it's like those like actual blank pages.
Well, kind of. It's more of like a template of sorts
Yeah, that's why
where
I
it
figured
has
yeah,
like
because I've seen
pre-made panels and shit.
yeah, I've seen that before when it comes to the like when I went to art school, like in high school they were like, I'll do art stuff and at the art supply shop they have stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, so I know what you're talking about.
So the item that you get for the raw currency is going to be the drawing board.
So this is the items you can buy so many multiples of.
Yes.
Okay. So it's
So
like an art canvas type thing.
yeah. Well, it's going to be called the drawing board because it's supposed to be a play on back to the drawing board sort of shape.
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought
So
it would look like an artist's easel, but
yeah,
it's
okay,
called the
so
drawing board.
yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, so I can look for there.
Right. So one of so I know I had like a fucking list of shit that I wanted to do. Let me see if I can
Oh,
fetch my computer real
unprofessional,
quick.
unprofessional. You're right, was so all organized, and yet you need a presentation of the school board, and it's looking very bad on your education there.
So before I get to more of the items, or the craftable stuff, the character that I want to introduce is Milo.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I don't know who else you would add besides Milo. He's like one of the main baddies in the episode. Though I don't know how he would like. I'm adding this in here in this video so you'd see what he drew up because I had no idea what you have in mind just yet because I have yet to see him. But one thing I will say, I did like how you drew Terra as well as the cuckoo clocks work birds.
Right.
Yeah. So
Uh, the thing about Milo is I wanted him to be a lot different from uh, the actual book variant of Milo because Milo was a shape-shifting mutant.
and we already have a
And
shape-shifting mutant.
yeah, and it's really fucking redundant.
Yeah, which is pretty obvious, so it makes sense.
Yeah. So instead, I have Milo and the Super Lizard moniker, or bearing the Super Lizard identity.
Which is like I've seen the Super Lizard. I did like how you designed them, and it's hilarious that they decide to throw Super Lizard on the cover art, and he is nowhere to be found in the episode in the book at all.
Yeah,
he's
that's
just
the one
there.
thing that kind of annoyed me a little
Yeah,
because I kind of wanted to see what kind of shenanigans happened with Super Lizard.
like what would his shenanigans be? What would he cause
Uh,
you to die of? Oh no, you die.
well,
Game over.
I mean, honestly, it could be anything. I mean, he's between like a Superman and a lizard.
Yeah, well, I mean, because he's such a MacGuffin character, he has no, like, he wasn't even mentioned at all. It basically gives you creativity to make him into something. So I'm curious to see how you vision your Super Lizard slash Milo character in this case and the story. What do you see it as?
Okay, so the
So I think,
um,
yeah,
so yeah, with Milo, he is going to be a superhero.
okay,
So and the characters that are going to be involved with this event are some of the main kids, the ones who are like more interested in the comic books, right?
yeah, of course. And
Because
you have
you
you have
gotta have the kids.
your Mrs. Darks and your Mortmans and Mars. Gotta have them.
Yeah, yeah. You
Gotta
gotta
have them
have the
just read
basic
books.
characters and shit.
Just go in the building.
But the the top three important characters to have are Milo himself,
Mm-hmm.
the masked mutant,
Mm-hmm.
and Crystal Mickelson.
Who's that?
She was the spoiled rich girl from Chicken Chicken.
Oh, Crystal. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, now I remember. Yeah, I was wondering what are you talking about? I was
Now,
like, what character was that from? It's just like, oh yeah, yeah. It's our own character here. It's interesting you're bringing her into this because she's from her own book. But yeah, I'm curious now with what Crystal's going to be involved with this. So,
well, I wanted to make this a type of redemption arc for Crystal, in a sense.
oh, so you think she learned her lesson?
Well, the thing that I see is that with Crystal, because originally she was like very snooty and didn't want to deal with monsters and think they were all freaks and this and that and shit.
Yeah, she was the monster in this
But
story.
yeah, but in this one, what I wanted to do, I'll get to the plot later, but essentially she turns a new leaf in this story.
Okay.
But yeah, some of the things that Milo or Super Lizard does, he would have his comic book shop with him, which is known as Milo's Comic Dungeon.
Now, with Milo's comic dungeon, is this going to be a scene, or is this going to be a crafting, or like, is this
No, this is the thing where he comes from.
okay? So this is the building he comes with, as his like summoning.
Yes,
Okay, all right.
yes.
So I'm curious about
The crafting,
yeah.
yeah, the crafting area is going to be a type of comic production studio of sorts.
Okay, so kind of like an itchy and scratchy thing,
Kinda, yeah.
like that kind
But
of building.
the thing is, yeah, the thing is that this studio is where the Mass Mutant makes his comic books
Oh, so this is the one, or this
because
the
it's
win. Okay.
yeah, this is where the Mass Mutant makes his mutant comic books and sells it in the comic book shop.
So would you add a
And
lore to like a connection with like because these comic book characters eventually there's other ones that come in later on. Like there's one particular that a lot of
yeah,
people probably know. It would be interesting to see the lore building, like how you got Peepo, water depot type thing. So I'm wondering, is that going to be somewhat like the same thing where you're going to have a like this building to be somewhat connected in the Goosebumps lore of sorts, or is this going to be just a generic building kind of thing?
um, I'm probably gonna have it have some kind of Mass Mutant type of design to it because this does belong to the Mass Mutant after all.
Okay, so this is mutants too. Okay, so I can totally see. So it's like a fun house of sorts. That kind of looks like, but if we're going to look with the same look at his buildings and whatnot. So okay,
So the spawn area, it's nothing too big or grandiose. It's actually just similar to the cellar from Beast from Beneath the Sink.
okay, so it's something small.
Yeah, it's then. Funnily enough, it is actually a cellar. It's going to be known as the Comic Dungeon Cellar.
Okay, how do you vision that to look?
Um, kind of like a closed cellar, but there's going to be like a punch hole through with a comic character's fist popping out.
Okay. All right. So, like, if I can probably, if at this point you probably would be showing what we are talking about in this picture here, but for now, to talk,
Probably not, but it all depends.
just use your imagination. If I
Yeah,
don't show it, too bad. All right. So, yeah. Okay.
but anywho,
It would be interesting.
um,
It would. Sorry, I was gonna say with the spawn scene, it would have been interesting if it was like something like that, like Warner Brothers kind of tunnel system thing, where it's like a billboard of sorts, but it's like an entrance way of something, right? So they're coming out, kind of like how you saw the Masked Mutant in the episode, kind of coming up from the comic book of sorts.
yeah.
Not to throw your idea out, like saying that that's not good. I'm just throwing an idea out there that would have been interesting to kind of throw, like if you want to go with the more 2D going into 3D type of thing.
Um, so one of the trying to collect my thoughts for a second here.
It's okay.
Okay, so the spawn creatures that come out from the cellar door are going to be Mass Mutant,
Okay.
Milo,
All right.
um, and Ballistic Bug.
Does one ballistic bug?
Since there's only one, well, I guess technically there are multiple issues, technically, so I guess maybe two Ballistic Bugs.
I mean, you can change their color. It can like that easy. The other thing too, I guess this would be. It's kind of hard to say because I know the Masked Mutant is a premium character, or I should say Libby is. So it'd be interesting to see how that would be played out. And I know what they've been doing recently is that they've been having it be associated after the event. So like if you collect all three bundles, you get the scene that comes with this.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I'm just curious.
So yeah, you would have something called the comic monster key, right?
Yeah.
Then you would have something called the villain or the plotting villains, which would have like a bunch of mutant shit as well as the mutant.
Okay.
And then you would have Hero's Journey, which includes Crystal Mickelson.
Okay.
And then that's where you get the scene or the additional, scene prize for, the dungeon cellar thing.
Yeah. That makes sense. What do you have for a your supplier for the promenade? Out of curiosity.
Supplier. Well,
Well,
like I said, the supplier for raw items would be the drawing board.
yeah, yeah. I just meant like in like how, for example, the for this event that we have right now, we have the Valentine gift shop as the scene of the event area spawn, and then you have the wolf's flower as the suppliers you can buy multiples of. So you did mention how he wanted the um, writers no writing board as the
Drawing
supply.
board.
The drawing board has the supplier stuff. So I was just curious if there was a supplier that's going to be put on the promenade area.
I haven't really thought that one yet.
Okay. I'm trying to think what would make sense for something like that. If we're going back with the mutant, unless I'm trying to think from the other story if there's anything that could be. You know what? I probably would suggest maybe we can have some sort of billboard advertising. Like it's advertising an issue or something like that, where that could be the
To
supplier.
drop comic pages?
Or yeah, the raw items basically.
Yeah, the raw item would be called the comic page.
Yeah, so it would probably drop a comic page like the supplier building, I would say. Like it could be like a like those like 3D billboards of sorts.
Right.
So that could be a suggestion that we could probably do. That way it's kind of like
I mean,
that way the promenade looks like something the Mask Mutant would be probably doing. Like how there are some buildings have like those advertising on their own like near the area that kind of says like, oh, come to like the building is right next to on the left, type of thing. It could be
right.
something generic. It's like totally normal comic shop, not the mutants at all. Or it could be advertising an issue or something, or it could even advertise Milo's shop or something like that.
Yeah, I was actually gonna think maybe like an advertisement for Milo's Comic Dungeon.
Yeah, so it can be one of those big billboards type of thing, and it can just you tap on it, it just drops the comic sheets. So that can be a supplier idea then.
Okay.
And that way it fits the whole environment stuff there.
Right.
It sucks too because it probably would just keep it as the Be Afraid plot. I think for this particular version that you had, it would make sense to see them doing the It Came from the Internet um promenade because it's like a
Right.
parking lot area. So I thought it would be interesting to kind of do it like that, but I don't think they'd ever change it. So
Well, to be fair, like in terms of like I don't remember reading a whole like I remember actually owning the book myself.
yeah,
So, but the unfortunate thing is I don't really remember too much. But as far as I can recall, the the area and where the comic shop was somewhere in some sort of like urban setting where there's not a lot of foot traffic.
yeah. So you know
So
what?
they would just like put like
Yeah.
random street shit everywhere.
They can do what they can probably we can have it decorated just like how I kind of did with my comic shop area where I kind of had the mutants layer behind it and just had a bunch of trees behind it. It's like, oh, secretly there, so could probably do that, but let them be creative. They can decide on that. But yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I think we got all that stuff set up. So I guess it's just the story and the crafting going on for the what would you call this the Mask Mutants shop here?
Oh, the crafting thing.
Yeah.
Um, Mutant Studio or
Okay.
Mutant Comic Studio,
Okay.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. All right.
Or better yet, just Mutant Comics.
Yeah, that works too. Mutant
Yeah.
Comic Inc. Inc. spelled with
Something like that,
I-N-K.
Inc. or Limited or some
Yeah.
corporate
Mutant
lingo.
Comic Inc. And it's actually spelled I-N-K rather like dot rather
Yeah,
than
that's clever. That's clever.
yeah, that'd be kind of punny because that sounds like something they would do. All right, yeah. So that sounds good. All right. So for Mutant Comic Inc., what would be the crafting would be dealing with?
Okay, so the first item that you craft with the raw item would be something called, and the hero page consists of, I'm trying to remember what some of the other items were, but they required 3 comic pages.
Yeah.
Trying to remember.
Well, you don't have like I mean, if you don't have the general or like whatever you Like, again, we can work details later. It's just more so just
Yeah,
curious with
yeah,
what you thought would be interesting to have.
right. So there would be hero page,
Mm-hmm.
and then there would be um, Super Lizard comic, which
Okay.
is the next after hero comic.
Yeah.
Now,
I can totally see them visualizing it as putting a comic page and then putting the artwork of the little comic shop of horrors on there and be like, yep, that's the
yeah,
comic
it would have like,
page. That's the comic
yeah,
page. Looks
yeah,
totally like
exactly.
looks lizard in game.
Yeah,
Just,
exactly.
just like what they did with the
This
monster
one,
helper.
I do know that it requires pages also, and 3 hero pages, as well as the creep protocol.
Okay. Oh, the creeper. Oh, okay, so you're doing this now. Okay, this would be interesting. I wonder how much people will hate you and be like, "Oh, gotta summon that. Gotta do Ricky's
Well, hang on,
thing."
hang on. It
It's the gnomes all over again. Oh no,
you
the
only
gnomes!
need one. You only need one protocol for the hero comic, so it's not like you're going to be farming a whole bunch.
Yeah, that's not like tedious as it used to be with you have to getting all those crafting in order to get the final prize. So it's crafting is kind of like a joke in a little
Right.
bit, but
So the second set is villain page,
okay.
which includes the comic page. Oh, pardon me, and some other shit.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have villain comic,
Yeah,
or I guess,
League of Bad
yeah,
Guys.
I guess villain comic or something, and that requires 3 villain pages, 3 comic pages, and the molecule melter.
Okay. Or it could be like the League of Bad Guys comics or something like that. I have to look at what comics there is currently in the game because I know they probably won't want to. They wouldn't want to have a situation where there was the Spider Glove all over again, where it's
No, no,
like,
no, no, no.
okay, yeah, yeah. So this,
I got it.
yeah. So I'm sure they can think
I
of
mean, I
something.
double checked on that,
Okay, okay,
but having the hero comic and the villain comic together creates a um, crossover comic.
okay. Interesting. Yeah, that
So,
makes sense.
with this one, you would just need 3. You would just need 1 hero comic, 1 villain comic, and 3 comic pages.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. See, I hate how yours make more sense than mine did. I swear next episode it will be better. I swear. I promise. I'll try anyways. Ugh.
But yeah, and with the scene, what that drops is the crossover comic.
Okay, so that will drop the crossover comic. All right.
Yeah, because as far as I know, with many of the scenes in the recent events like Circus and the Valentine one, they always drop the last most important one at the end of sorts.
Yeah, I know. And I've kind of already pitched my idea, so I wonder if they will change it. But I still like how I did mine, which was having it, to sacrifice one of the slots so that you have a unique item and then, but maybe in the future. I mean, I did mine as the element to what happened for the Trap in the Circus of Fear, and it turns out with this new one, and there's an extra quest line. So apparently they can do 13 rather than 12. So who knows? They might change in the future, but yeah, for now that would make sense.
Some of the items or some of the decorations that you would come across would include the hero statue,
Yeah,
which is just like a big golden statue of Super Lizard doing like a superhero pose.
I love that how I didn't do any of that for mine. I mean, I kind of did with
um,
my story. You might get an idea, but other than that, it was just like left it ambiguous.
the next one I was going to have like an like a ballistic bug shell,
Okay.
and another one I was going to have was like a huge ass death ray, similar to like I don't know how familiar you are with like Fairly Odd Parents episodes.
Yeah.
Do you remember the super mega evil super laser that was in Negatemi?
I want to say yes, but I will have to look that up.
It was something similar to that almost, but not as goofy.
Okay. I'm trying to think. Uh, I know Marvin the Martian has like a death ray of sorts, if that's kind of like what you're aiming at.
Well, it was just like this standing machine that's like on a pole of sorts, and had like this bulbous body with like a little pointer that shoots the beam and shit.
Okay, yeah. I see where you're going with. Yeah.
And the thing about this thing is that despite the fact that it's called a death ray, it doesn't actually kill people.
All right. Why is it called a death ray then?
Because if
Unless
you
it's
remember, like how the mass mutant was, turned Skipper into like a comic book character.
yes.
I kind of wanted to give the mutants like a syndrome complex where if everyone's super, then no one is.
Okay. So it's basically death of like an actual like death of the power, basically making you normal. I'm assuming that's what you're going with. Or am I wrong?
There was a Fairly Odd Parents sort of thing too, where like everyone's a supervillain or a superhero sort of thing. The great superhero wish or something. The
Yeah,
big
yeah.
superhero wish. That's it.
Yeah. That's yeah.
Where
It's
everyone
kind
is like a superhero or a supervillain.
or yeah, or that episode where, the everyone like he wished that everyone's costume was real type of thing.
No. That's the Halloween one.
Yeah, I know that. I just I'm trying yeah, I'm trying to remember the superhero one. It's been so long, but yeah, I'm vaguely remembering
Okay,
it.
so
Yeah. I know because
this
Timmy Turner was like the chin lad or whatever his name was.
Clef the Boy Chin Wonder.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. See, it's been so long.
This was like this was like the second introduction to the Nega Chip.
Yeah.
So, anywho, um, yeah. Uh, so this Ray is supposed to turn everyone into a comic book hero or a villain, so that way the mass mutant has more characters for his comic book, so he doesn't run dry on his ideas.
Okay, so this whole premise is basically he's running out of ideas. Okay,
Yes.
this will be interesting.
So the story starts off with Curly, trying to introduce the um, story, and
Hmm.
Slappy, being a little prick, he interrupts him and says, "Shut up! I'm trying to read this latest Mass Mutant comic, right?"
Yeah,
So like he's reading this comic, and he gets like super annoyed because there's like uh, Dustin and Marty talking about like the latest comic, and he's just trying to fucking read.
yeah,
So Dustin and Marty, they like while they were talking, like Slappy just gets fed up and just goes someplace else.
yeah,
Now we just move on to the kids at this point, right?
yeah,
So they're talking about the new comic book store that just opened up in town that sells more than just mutant comics,
yeah,
which is Miles' Comic Dungeon.
yeah.
So they got their hands on comic books like Ballistic Bug and Super Lizard,
Hmm.
or any other Goosebumps comic book characters like the Galloping
Maniac
Gazelle
or
or Doctor
Doctor
Maniac
Maniac.
or even Purple Rage.
Yeah, Purple Rage was another character that's just out of nowhere. I think he came with during the I think Doctor Maniac storyline. I might be
Yeah,
mistaken. Yeah,
and
it's-
no, he
yeah.
was in Doctor Maniac versus Robbie Schwartz.
That was an awful book. Oh no, here's the
Um,
thing. It turns
or
out, oh, it's a book that I was reading. Oh no, that book, it's like a bookception. It's throw in the garbage.
or or it could reference other characters from the Attack of the Mutant video game, like
Yeah,
Dynamite
or
or Pink
or
Flamingo
yeah, I know you love
or
Pink
Pinky
Flamingo.
Flamingo.
I mean, we use his
Yeah,
theme song. That's our theme song now. So yeah,
it can mention any one of those comic book characters, right? Like it doesn't really matter who it is. So
and people and then nerds like me will point and go, oh, look, you said the thing. I know that.
yeah. Anyway, so the quest would be like so then it starts with the first quest, which is to collect um, the 4 comic pages, and then have Marty read a comic, and then Dustin read a comic.
Okay.
So after that's done, you know, they go and bother Lucy about this, comic book store that just opened, but Lucy just doesn't give a rat's ass about it.
Yeah.
So she goes off and does her own thing. Lucy or not Lucy, Dustin and Marty are like, well, she's a buzzkill. I don't know why the fuck you hang out with her.
Yeah.
Not verbatim, of course, but just the overall vibe.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's like talk and buzz about this new comic shop that just opened up in town, which gets Crystal's attention,
Yeah.
and she was like, "Oh, great! It's probably run by some freak again."
Yeah.
Because she hates monsters and stuff. So
She's
and
monster phobic.
monstrophobic, basically. And
Yeah.
the mass mutant hears about this, and he gets visibly upset. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
There's a new shop that's selling comic books that aren't mine. So he gets a little competitive and jealous.
Nice. Okay. Meanwhile, this Milo guy just decided to open up a store because, why not? He had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, he had no idea the mass mutant was even here to begin with.
Or the
So,
fact that this place is full of monsters. I mean, he should have known that this place was full of weirdos.
well, here's the thing: not the mass mutant. Milo, he's just trying to run a business, right? He does superheroing on the side, but he's just trying to run a business.
Yeah.
He doesn't know who lives in Horror Town or anything. He just moves in, wants to start a business, this and that, does hero business on the side to fight bad guys and shit.
Yeah.
It's Clark Kent shit.
Yeah. Except he
So,
actually, unless the difference is like with Clark Kent, unless he doesn't wear glasses, I'd be like, oh my god, you're super lizard. He's not that type of
well, here's the thing. Because when you do actually get Milo, his walking animation is just basically like a Clark Kent disguise. So he have like a button-up shirt with like a fucking pair of glasses.
Okay. Yeah, he's not
I
shady
thought
at
this
all.
was funny because people who are like, you can easily disguise someone with just a pair of glasses, right?
Yeah, I love how he bumps into Eric Appleby. Hey, I like your style.
But anyway, so Milo in his Clark Kent getup, he's like introducing people to his comic book store. He's actually very chill, down to earth and shit.
Yeah.
He's someone you could vibe with.
Would he
But
be
Mass Mutant doesn't like him.
is he kind of like a would you say comic book guy in the sense of like he knows the comic book stuff, or is he just kind of like a guy
Oh
who
yeah,
just...
yeah. He's a fucking nerd.
Okay, all right.
Like, despite the fact that he has like a buff physique and he's pretty down to earth and chill to hang out with, he's a really big comic nerd. He can tell you like every intricate detail of every comic book that he sells or has even read.
Yeah. He knows the prices too, so he knows the worth.
Yeah. So anyway,
Sorry, just going out of tangent here. That reminds me of it's a weird Simpson clip where it was an episode with Mr. Burns was basically making Homer his pay monkey, and he went over to comic book guy. He's just like, I want to have the first issue of Radioactive Man. He's like, yeah, now you want to be the king of space. It's like, well, I have money here. It's like, oh, let me get that for you. And he gets it. It's like, would you like paper or plastic? No, thank. I'll eat it here. Sorry. Sorry, I just came out of nowhere with that, but that's this weird thing that reminded me of.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So this starts up the second quest, which is, have have mass mutants spy this. It's going to be one of those things where the character goes and hides in the item thing.
Yeah.
Like in the promenade sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you do an animation that you goes onto a tree or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he would like spy on the new comic owner and stuff.
Yeah.
And he would like hide up in the tree like with like a little branch with leaves on it and a pair of like binoculars. And occasionally he would just hide behind a leaf, even though he was like a big ass guy in a tree.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the masked mutant could shapeshift, so he could just be a squirrel.
Yeah, that is true. I forgot.
I mean, or he could just be the tree.
Oh, yeah, that's actually better. You could just turn into the tree and just like occasionally shift and look around, and
Yeah,
then just like stand. It would just be like Zoodle from fucking Pokemon.
yeah, exactly. Or
That's a good
something.
idea. I like that.
Again, it's just random ideas because he is a shapeshifter after all, and I mean, he did turn into a chair. Then he went and attacked the Gallagher's Gazelle, and there's a
Yeah.
snake attacking me.
Oh, and I was just getting comfy.
Yeah,
Anyway, then Chris also with Crystal just have like an animation uh, where she just like basically tries to ignore the latest buzz because she doesn't care about it.
yeah,
But that's like her animation, and then it just like craft a hero comic or hero page.
yeah, yeah,
So then, like after that's done, like as soon as like it gets way too much for her, Crystal has had enough and basically decides, okay, if this thing is so great, like I might as well just check it out for myself. Even though she's not really big into comics, but she just basically wants to get it all to stop. So
yeah. She'll just go see what the fuss is about, so they be like,
yeah,
shut
exactly.
up.
So she goes and sees Milo
You know
at his
what?
shop.
You know what probably might annoy her is probably her brother. I mean, her Greg might have said something about like,
Yeah,
man, you should see this. Like, all right, you know what? I'm just going over there to spite you.
it's like, damn it, Greg, why'd you have to say it? Now I have to prove you wrong.
Yeah, you freak.
Be a freak. Everyone's a freak. You're a freak. You're a freak.
Freaky,
I'm a
freaky.
freak. Are there any other freaks I should know about? And then you see like Barbarous.
Yeah,
Hi.
I still want to do. Yeah, I laugh at that though because I know this is tangents, but I remember the Adams Family did like I know I do cover the Adams Family as well. There was one where uh, I think it was last in July when there was a mutant event, and one of the costumes was Kitty looking like Gomez. And there was this like, you're Gomez, I'm Gomez. Is there any other Gomez I need to know about? And you see Kitty, meow. I'm out. Yeah, I totally want to use that for something, but
I
mm,
mean, it's a funny reference.
yeah.
Anyway,
I think I remember seeing somebody do that with Sonic. It's just like, you're Sally, you're Sally, you're Sally, I'm Sally. Is there any other Sally I need to know about? And you see Blaze, meow. I'm out. Because they were joking about like the you're a Sally replacement, you're a Sally replacement.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, um, Crystal walks inside the comic shop and meets Milo.
yeah,
And Milo is like, pretty, chill, just reading his comic, takes a quick glance and is just like, okay, whatever.
right.
So she looks around, sees like all the different comic books and stuff, and she thinks it's all the comics are fucking weird because they have like
Ew.
obscure characters.
Yeah, ew.
Huh?
No, it's just like I can just imagine her. It's like, ew.
It's
Look
like,
at this place.
ew,
It's
ballistic
dusty.
bug? That's disgusting.
This place looks dusty.
Yeah. And then like she comes across one that has like King Jelly Jam on it, and she's like, ew, the fuck is that?
It has this weird
Because that
cookie
would be
guy
like a
with a.
reference where,
Yeah,
yeah, it'd be like a reference where like King Jelly Jam was actually in the fucking uh, book itself.
there's a weird guy with a smiley face on there. Who has a
Yeah,
list?
buddy.
Hi, it's me, buddy. I really
Hey,
want, but
guy.
it's
Hey, guy.
it's me, buddy.
Welcome to King Jelly Jam Sports Camp.
Yeah, I really want them to adapt that book. I want Buddy to be named.
Yes, yes, I want Buddy.
Yeah,
And then when we do get Buddy, you have to do that voice.
I am. It would be a crime if I didn't. I need to find a character.
Exactly.
I also need to find a character that fit Bubbles' voice in there.
Oh, like from
Yeah,
Trailer Park Boys?
yeah. There's no dogs on this, man. It's got the same squanch going on there.
There's a
Yeah,
goddamn Sam Squanch going on around here.
yeah. Fits with it.
This is my kitty playground here. Got all my little kitties and all playing around and shit.
Do you know how to read,
That's
my
where I
son?
collect all the.
That
Huh?
depends. It's like, do you know how to read, my son? That depends. Do you know how to go fuck yourself?
You know
Yeah.
how to go fuck yourself, you big old mustard tiger.
Yeah. I love the mustard tiger comment. It's like all I did was call him mustard tiger. I was like, he's wearing a tiger shirt and he's mustard on it, and he just freaks out. Yeah,
He looks like he hates Philadelphia.
yeah. What are you looking at?
Anyway,
I'm not looking at anything. All right, you know what? No, it's like, see, like he has a big gut. But okay, what are you looking at
anyway,
for? Yeah.
before we get a little
No.
sidetracked. Anywho, so Crystal's looking around the comic shop and she finds a lot of the dusty and disgusting. And she
Yeah.
doesn't find any interest in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she like walks off thinking, "Oh, this is a freak store," you know.
Yeah.
So she walks off, uh, accidentally bumps into the mutant, and
As Libya
who
was
is
a
in
still.
like in Libby form, considering that he's going to be the next person to like fucking investigate, see what's going on.
Yeah.
And then Crystal is just basically like, "Ugh, get away from me! You're probably a freak too."
Yeah.
And she just like storms off in a huff.
I
And
mean,
then
why are you holding a clarinet for?
yeah, I can just imagine her
What
doing
you
like the
being like
fucking
squeak?
SpongeBob gross
What?
meme, like,
Ew.
"Ugh,
Ew.
ew."
Yeah.
Funny enough, when I was actually like doing that whole dialogue for Crystal at that point, I was actually doing the same fucking position, like, ew.
I can only imagine the faces too. It's just like that weird, like disgust look she has. It's like,
Ew. Why did you touch me? Ew.
ew, I
Anyway, she
got
storms off in a
common.
huff.
I got poor people germs.
Ew, poor.
Yeah. No offense to poor people. We're poor ourselves, so we know the pain. Anyways,
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. That line in specific was actually a reference SML where they had one of like the rich characters. He just like hates poor people. He's like, ew, poor. Whenever
yeah,
he hears something that's like he considers like poor, like eating mac and cheese
yeah,
or driving something that isn't a fucking Lamborghini.
yeah,
Anywho, so the mutant gets really offended by this and plots to kidnap her while starting off his grandiose plans and stuff.
hmm.
But first, he wants to investigate this comic shop because he sees this as like a rival business to his.
Despite there's another comic shop in the universe, but no one cares about that one.
Yeah, exactly, because that's the comic shop that sells his comics.
Ah, okay.
But this new one is a threat to him,
Yeah,
or a possible threat. So he goes in, and that's where you start the next set of quests, which is um, have a couple of characters read comics or whatever, and then craft the villain page.
yeah.
So then, after Mutant walks in and investigates everything, he sees all these different comics, and at the same time, Milo seems very suspicious,
I
like
think, yeah,
kind of like
sorry.
the Fry meme.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, I just got lost there.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah. No,
damn it.
it's something with the fry meme, but
Yeah. So while Mutant is like going inside, sorry, stuffy nose.
yeah, it's that time of year.
Yeah. Mutant goes inside, investigates the comics to see what's there. Milo, in the meantime, was just looking at it very suspiciously, like, something ain't right here.
Yeah.
Like the Fry meme.
My lizard sense is tingling.
Yeah, my lizard senses are tingling. So anyway, where Crystal was detested by all these different comic books and stuff because she thinks, ew, poor. Like the
Yeah,
mutant is like, holy shit, this is so original, great.
yeah,
Like he's jealous. Like these are better comics than his stuff.
yeah,
Like he was like the total opposite. So So he wants to buy a comic.
Which I'm assuming is a
He ends up
ballistic.
buying a comic, and it's going to be something completely basic, like Ballistic Bug.
Yeah. I mean, he did verse them at some point, according to the
Yeah,
lore. The lore.
Dolor. Anyway,
Yeah.
so he buys the Ballistic Bug comic. Re- like, but despite Milo's suspicion of him, because business.
Yeah.
So Milo, or not Milo, Mutant takes a comic, goes back home, or goes back to his thing,
Mansion.
and he starts reading the
His lair. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and he starts reading the comic. He's like, "Holy shit, this is a lot better than what I've written."
Yeah.
So then he decides, okay, you know what? I gotta up my game. I gotta do something so great, something so perfect that not even that shopkeep would like stand a chance against me.
Yeah.
So he he devises an idea to try and get or try to come up with uh, this device,
Yeah.
but he needs materials.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So at this point, this will be a cutoff to another section where the mass mutant also has an additional thing or additional animation, which is um, build our machine, which is supposed to be a pun, or build my machine, which
Yeah.
is supposed to be a pun off of build our machine from DA Games.
Yeah.
And one of the decoration items is going to be something called work in progress,
Okay.
and it's going to be like the base of the quote unquote death ray or death ray. And what he's going to do is he's going to take like a wrench and start smacking it with it.
Nice. Now, here's a weird idea I wanted to throw up because this was put into the game at some point. I know they don't tend to want to do this because it's always confusing when they bring it back and people are like, "Oh, how do you do this?" But I know the Adams have played around with this as well. But for the laser thing, do you think you want to do it as a an upgradable item where it's like incomplete at first and then you submit currency and whatnot to it and then it evolves so it's changed to something else? And this way it would be completed death rate, or would it just be a separate item?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay. I know they probably wouldn't want to do that because, they've been getting so complaint. Like I had to make a little tutorial real quick to be like, how do you upgrade the Grove? I can't find it. It's like, this is what you do. Click on this, do this, there, you got your Grove. Because the game doesn't
But
tell
yeah,
you that, but yeah.
so it'll be the death ray, but it'll start a base of
Yeah.
sorts,
Yeah.
and he's just busy slamming away at it.
Yeah.
So as he's working, and then you create the villain comic.
Yeah.
So as he's like, smacking away at this thing,
Yeah.
um, Crystal just occasionally walks by. Is like, "Ew, what kind of weird ass contraption are you building?" And the mutant's like, "None of your business. Now piss off."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Ugh, rude," which is ironic because she's been a bitch the whole time.
Yeah.
So like she storms off in a huff yet again because of course.
That's just what she
And
is. She's just always in a huff.
yeah, and he's like really getting irritated with her, right? Like he's always like she's always criticizing him, and he's getting really annoyed. So he figures, if she does that one more fucking time, just one more time, ooh, I'm gonna make her regret
Yeah, that reminds me. th- Another tangent on the side, just because you mentioned that, it reminded me there was a meme where I think it was someone was doing voiceover work with their gameplay, and I think it was I'm trying to think what the game is, but it was a PS exclusive, and it was a horror game of sorts, and I think it was like you play this like choose your own adventure of sorts, and I think it had something to do with
Yeah.
the Wendigo one. Yeah. So anyway, someone was talking. It was just like, if I'm gonna kill the next person I see, I swear to God. And then of course you see a little wolf is like, "Hi, I'm so happy to be here." And immediately everyone's like, "Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm so happy to see you." Wah, 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 wah. I'm sorry, this is gonna remind you. I swear it one more time.
All good, all good.
Yeah.
So
It could be like,
as
Phoebe coming in. It's like, "Hey, I'm so happy to see you." It's like, "Hey." Yeah.
so as this was going on, you know, um, Milo decides to close shop for the day and explore the town to see what he's working.
Yeah.
So Milo in his Clark Kent outfit, he goes around walking around town, and he notices, like at least the kids are reading his comics, right? Oh, that's great. They're reading my comics. That's cool.
Yep.
And as he's walking, he noticed the mutant,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh shit, there's villains here." So he decides to, go and spy on the mutant to see what he's up to.
Yeah.
So while that's happening, um, this is where you have. Um, I don't exactly know what kind of action animation would occur, but this is the part where you make the hero comic.
Yeah, yeah. I think when I did mine, I didn't really go into details about the actual, um, like, quest per se, because most of the time it seems like they've been doing like this, "Oh, just craft this," or "Do this." So
Oh yeah,
if you don't know fully, that's fine. You could just say, quest happen, move on. But
yeah.
yeah, so craft the
So anyway, after that's done, uh, Milo you know tries to get some intel on who this guy is because he's never seen him before.
Mhm.
Because he only knows comics that he's read or has in his shop, and he doesn't have a single thing about the Mass Mutant.
And he calls
So
himself
this is
a nerd.
well, this is a new thing to him.
Yeah, yeah.
So he asks the kids around town, like, "Hey, who's that weird guy in the strange costume?" And they're like, "Oh, that's just the mutant." So they like completely
You should
disregard him
talk
and
to
shit.
Eric. He knows all about him. He's a super fan.
Yeah,
Was. And then he got PTSD from him.
yeah, it's like, yeah, just go ask Eric. He knows everything about the mutant.
Yeah.
So after hearing the name Eric constantly, he thinks that he's this, high tech super nerd or not super nerd, but like the super genius that knows everything about the mutant. Like he believes that Eric is actually a superhero of sorts.
Yeah. Are you like, you must be the Eric I'm talking about? Oh no, my name is Eric Appleby. You're looking for Eric Tyson. That's a totally different Eric.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna probably use
By
that actually.
by the way,
Now that you mentioned it.
I like I like your suit.
Yeah, just like walk up to this cloaked figure is like, "Hey,
This giant man.
I'm
That's
looking for
me.
an Eric." He's like, "Yeah, I'm Eric." It's like, "Oh, you know everything about the mutant?" Like,
Oh, you're
"Oh,
talking
you're looking
about
for Eric Tyson."
I'm Eric
It's like,
Appleby. Totally different.
I'm
Oh, sorry,
Appleby, not
my
Tyson.
bad. By the
He's
way,
over
I do.
there.
Yeah. By the way, like your style, man. I like your style, Milo. It's like, oh, thanks. Like, wait a minute, I didn't give him my name. And he just
Yeah.
disappeared.
And he just walks away.
Yeah.
So at this point, quest happens where Eric gets to do something,
Yeah.
and then make two more make two more comics, right? Hero and villain. So after that, he walks up to Eric Tyson and starts asking him about the Mass Mutant, and and Eric goes on this fucking long tangent about the Mass Mutant, everything about his powers, his fucking lair, his weaknesses, every
The fact
down.
that he met a girl and turned into the Molecule Man for some reason.
Yeah, he kills Molecule Man because he
Yeah.
and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So he drones on and all, and Milo, while still trying to be interested, just like slowly gets bored a little, like, oh my god, he won't shut up.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, thanks, kid. I think I'm gonna use whatever knowledge you gave me to use in my, pursuit to stop the mutant.
Yeah.
And then Eric hears this, and now he's in a moral dilemma, right? Because he idolizes the masked mutant, but he knows that he's a villain, and this guy is a superhero, and he wants to stop the mutant
Now,
from
actually, yeah, think about this. Is it taking place after or before the Attack of the Mutant quest line, would you say?
um after.
Okay, because I guess in this case, I don't know how he would feel after being attacked by the mutant and being terrorized from it. It'd be like, that's right, Eric Tyson, I could be anybody or anything. You're free for the rest of your life. Although he never did
Yeah,
anything
but
about that.
yeah, he hasn't really done a whole bunch anyway, so it's
Yeah,
like, okay, whatever.
it's a nothing threat.
No
Okay.
skin off my nose.
Yeah,
It's like a big ass nothing burger.
yeah. Besides, he'll probably dress up in his colors anyways. It's like with Lippy, it's just like, oh, wow, yeah, you're very creative there. Although,
Yeah.
why? I know it's based on the book, but why Lippy? Why a little girl? No one would suspect a little girl. In the book, it actually makes
Anyway,
sense. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, because he was trying to
It's like I don't like
uh,
comic books. I like girly stuff, right? But in the game, it's just like, oh, I love the mask. It's just like, oh yeah, Eagle Nest. I love me.
yeah, because he's got like a big ass inflated ego and shit.
Oh yeah,
So now he stands at like a dilemma of, would he betray his idol to stop him from taking over the world or whatever the fuck he's doing,
yeah,
or would he inform the mass mutant of what Milo is plotting to do?
yeah,
So there's like a little bit of that. So like while this was happening, mass mutant wants to try and he's still building his machine, but he can't get anything done because he's missing a few parts. So instead of asking, because that's at least the decent thing to do, he decides to steal some materials from Shock's lab.
I could have sworn I put this down somewhere.
Yeah, and like if his fucking Destructotron or whatever that
I
fucking
love
thing
that
was
too.
can
It's like
like
I thought I parked
disappear.
this outside. It's like how the hell did you lose such a big?
Yeah,
Someone,
like he parked this thing
someone
outside this
hijacked my
big ass
machine.
whatever foot tall ass machine that
Man,
shoots lasers.
man, HorrorTown has gone down the hill. There's people jacking machines all over the place.
Yeah, there's a serious machine jacker in
Yeah,
Horror Town.
I love it too when the mayor goes and attacks everything, and I pointed out just like Matt, he doesn't say like, "Hey, wait, that's my wait, no, nothing." It's like,
Hey, isn't that my? I mean, oh, what is she doing? That's
what?
just crazy.
Oh wow, I wonder where she got that from. Probably some genius, but I wouldn't.
Wasn't me.
Yeah,
Yeah, some genius must have concocted that thing.
yeah,
Anyway, so he goes and steals some parts from um, Shock's lab, or he's about to, and as he was going to, he comes across Eric. Right? It's like, Eric, we meet again,
yeah,
but I don't have time for you right now.
yeah,
So he's just like goes off to do his business. So Eric is just like, you know what? I'm probably going to betray the mutant.
yeah. Probably a better idea.
Yeah. So,
It's funny
um,
because in this case, it's like being a fan of the Joker. It's like, why would you?
yeah, right.
He's like, he's cool and all, but he would
Exactly.
murder you. That right?
Exactly. Or like, I remember there was this comic where there was like this crazed fan who really liked Darth Vader, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And then like in that comic, like she was doing Darth Vader like her and stuff, but she ends up getting killed off by Vader.
yeah,
And I thought that was like a really interesting take because it's like, yeah, that's exactly what Vader would do. It's not gonna fucking fall in love with you or some shit.
yeah. But he would play with the idea as long as it's like if you're an asset to him, he'd be like, all right, I'll see
Yeah,
where this goes. As long until you annoy me, then I'll get rid of you, right?
yeah, exactly, something like that.
He's
So
cleaning my place up. Okay, let's see where this goes from
So,
here.
so quest happens, and one of these quests involves, this is one of those walk around type of quests, and he's
Hmm.
just like looking for missing parts or stolen parts. And he's like searching around trying to find his shit.
Yeah.
So anyway, after the quest ends, um, Mutant like tries to go back with all the stolen he has, and he bumps into Crystal once more.
Yeah.
And Crystal's like, "Ugh, it's you again. Get away from me, you freak!" And then Mutant's like, "You know what? I knew this was gonna happen." So he steals her too. Like
Yeah.
it's fucking Donkey Kong. He goes away to his lair.
Yeah.
So Eric sees this and he goes and tells Milo about what's happening.
It'd be funny too with when it comes to her. Like I know it's funny to have him do Donkey Kong style stealing her, but it'd be funnier if he just zaps her, puts her in a piece of paper, and be like, "Ah, slide you in." It's like trapping you in
Now,
a prison or something like that.
yeah, but he doesn't have like the time to like have some sort of entrapment device, and he just like stole a whole bunch of shit from Shock's lab.
He just turned into the abominable snow monkey, and it just took her that way.
Yeah. So, um,
Snowball, is that
so
you?
while so while Eric goes and informs Milo about what the hell is happening, right?
Hmm.
So Milo like is like, "Oh, thanks, kid. Now I can be able to stop the mutant." And then he like runs off to try and stop him and stuff.
Yeah.
So quest happens, and this involves a pairing quest, which involves Crystal and Mutant.
Yeah.
And this is just him carrying her.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how they would do that.
And then like Crystal, like, and like, when he moves like away from the camera, you can see like Crystal just like slamming her fist on his back, like "Get off me!"
Yeah.
So quest happens. So
Actually, what would
Milo
happen? What
meets.
what would happen to Danger in this case? Because she would be carrying him around as
I have
well.
no idea. Yeah, but at sometimes like she
You
doesn't
just
have
don't.
danger with him
You know
or
what?
with her. But
You know what? I got an idea. Let's just think of my favorite movie. Don't think about it. That'd be perfect. Okay, let's move on.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I like danger. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I know.
um,
By the way,
so
I joke about that movie. It's actually not that bad, but I just love that. It's like R.L. Stein's Don't Think About It.
anywho, Milo breaks into the mutant's lair and he sees Crystal, trapped in some entrapment device or whatever.
Yeah.
And he comes across Mutant, who finally built his laser, right?
Hmm.
And then Milo like takes a second to like absorb all this information, and he's like, "Ah, really, a death ray? That's so fucking cliche. Why would you build such a thing?
Yeah.
Like, do you know how many comic books use the same damn repeated storyline?" And then Mutant's like, "Shut up! First of all, this is not a death ray. So up yours, Scaly." And then he
It's
goes
the
on
Super
about
Death
like,
Ray Nador.
"This is my comic bookinator."
Nador.
So gotta have the inator in there
Yeah.
because that's a
Yeah.
classic.
Yeah. Another cliche.
Which is like, yeah, another cliche that Milo can dunk on him for. But he goes on about how this machine is transformed the entirety of Horrortown into comic heroes and comic villains, basically comic book characters.
Comic book nightmare. Okay.
Yeah. So then when Milo asks, "Why the hell would you do?" And then like he goes on about how there was so much originality in Milo's comics, and that he feel like the mutant felt like he was running out of ideas. So if he turns everyone into a comic book character, then he would have more characters for his. So that way there'd be more original, and people would want to buy his comics.
Yeah.
So Milo calls him crazy, and they end up duking it out.
The syndrome approach of everyone's super, no one will be.
Yeah, exactly. And like quest happens. Skip that. After the mutant is defeated and his machine is
destroyed. Yeah.
He he goes and saves Crystal. And once he saves Crystal, like Crystal is like, "Oh wow, I was just saved by a monster. That's never happened to me before."
Yeah.
And she starts having like this,
Epiphany.
maybe monsters. Not all monsters are freaks or weirdos, and some of them are nice and want to help others.
And on that day, they say Crystal's heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Pretty much, yeah.
Maybe she thought the monsters aren't evil.
So, like after that whole thing happens, Crystal thanks Milo for rescuing her and stuff. And as a show of faith, Crystal does something she's never done before, and asks if Milo wants to be her first official monster friend.
Oh,
And Milo agrees, and that's where it ends.
on one condition. You gotta stop being a mean brat to people. Fang.
Well, now that she has this revelation, she's willing to be a little bit more open-minded.
Yeah. She'll still call people freaks every now and then, but now it's not. Now she's not monster phobic. She just does it just because she's a brat.
And during that, fight thing, this is where the quest where you make a few, or at least like, I want to say 2 or 3 crossover comics come in.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, Curly does his little outro.
Papyrus.
No, I just imagine him like Skeletor just raising his fist in the air, like.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, but because of Skeletor, every skeleton has to talk like that now. It's like, spoiler, that's how Curly talks. I just deepen his voice to make him sound a little bit more cooler.
Just like. And then, like, Curly tries to do his outro. He turns to Slappy and says, "So, what did you think of that tale of terror?" And Slappy's just like, "Shut up, I'm reading."
No.
It's like, "Oh, well, okay then.
What was
well,
that?
see you next time, player."
Yeah, and until next time, same bat same bat time, same bat channel.
Yeah, something like that along the lines.
Some sort of corny comic book thing.
Yes. Same lizard time, same lizard channel.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
I'm sure they think of something. They're creative.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the beginning of that one in the My Hero Valentine season. It's like, roses are red, violets are blue, monsters are new. It's like, what are you talking like that? It's like, I'm trying to be romantic. Sorry, I'm trying to be. Yeah, he's the character. I love him.
But yeah, that's pretty much the story concept that I have for Comic Shop of Horrors.
Okay. Is there any side quest when it comes to Milo when you unlock him?
The struggling artist.
Yeah, okay.
So basically the reason why he has so many of these is because similarly to the Masked Mutant, he makes his. But the difference is he has more connections to make his comics, as opposed to the mutant.
Yeah, he's been out there more, so you've seen a lot more people. Like for some reason,
exactly.
Buddy and the Jelly Jam monster.
Yeah, he even tussled with Jelly Jam once.
Yeah, what is this Cuddle Bear Land? I'm still pissed off. I want Color Bears to be in the game. Goddammit. Look at that noise. I'm gonna still piss like. It's gonna piss him off. Where's my Color Bears? Where's my Care Bear knockoffs?
Like I can imagine you like throwing like a bit of a tantrum similar to like that baby character from Dinosaurs. I don't know if you remember that show.
Yeah, I remember.
Just like, I want cuddle bears. I want cuddle bears. I want cuddle bears. And then like you just hit people in the head with like a pan or a pot or something.
Yeah,
Like, not the
definitely.
cuddle bear, not the cuddle bear.
There. Yeah. I love that show. That was so good. It's so like it was interesting too how dark it was as well with some topics they
Oh
went through.
yeah,
But yeah, they did a good job. Last
the
kind of
final episode was actually pretty good. I loved how they
what was funny
ended the
about that
series.
was that wasn't supposed to be the final episode, but they ended up making it the final episode. And they argued with them. They're like, no, no, there's gonna be the final episode. And it's like, all right, fine.
I mean, like, realistically, how can you continue
Yeah,
colder adventures of the dinosaurs or some shit?
yeah. And the caveman ended up winning. Who knew?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was Comic Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good job.
Yay!
Better than I did. I love the comments too. A
So
lot of people seem to be interested with like what I did with my idea. But yeah, it's interesting to see how this turns out though, as far as with how everything goes about. But yeah, it sounds like interesting enough. It'd be curious to see how they would have adapted this though. Actually, what would be interesting later on is if one of the books ended up getting adapted that we cover, it would be interesting to kind of look back and be like, all right, did we do better or did they do better? Like what did they do good and what did they do
yeah,
bad?
who did it better? Who did it better?
That's like what we're gonna do when it comes to a certain bride. Ours was better, damn it.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, because I had like a whole like great idea with Bride before, they went with actually
I
adapting
wanted
from the
to make
book.
Jillian a Wednesday Adams, but no, no, we need to make her a
Yeah,
normal,
I wanted
boring.
to make her yeah, I wanted to make her like a cute, porcelain looking gothic Lolita character that
Yeah,
that
not
has like a hex maniac vibe carrying around
well,
Gabriella.
Lolita in the style context, not the other one, the gothic look, right? Not the
Yeah, the
other thing,
gothic look.
not the other one that is controversial. We don't talk about that one. Uh,
We don't talk about Bride. Oh no, no.
yeah, that's fun.
And I also wanted to have like, you know, uh, 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 Jimmy O. James be like the Arnold Wesker character carrying around.
Yeah, yeah. I'm most likely they'll bring him back as a character if they ever do Slappy's Nightmare, because who else are they going to bring in, right? It'd be interesting if they're going to actually just adapt him from like actual what he looks like and change him slightly, or if they're going to go full, because we had the original idea to kind of make him a Jim Henson sorts. Like we kind of did, where we kind of said like he has his own show called Jimmy O. Jam and Friends, so I don't know how they're going
Yeah,
to tie that in there, but you know, if they don't, I'll be I'll be angry at the Lord. It's like I'll be like the nerds. It's like, boy, I hope someone got fired for that one.
but yeah, what did you think of Comic Shop of Horrors? Is there anything that you would have changed personally?
I liked it. I
Is there anything that you? Okay,
The only thing I would say that I think would be one issue is the fact that we have two premium characters of sorts. One of them being a limited time character, and the other one being a permanent character. Be part featured in the story. Not that it is a bad thing, but the problem of it would be the fact of how would they like I'm trying to think how they would do this because they tend to kind of be like, well, we need to make it think what's good for the like beginning people coming into the game, right? Because it's just one of those things. But yeah, I've always been a key, what is it? I've always been wanting to have all different characters be featured, like even characters that weren't a part of the story be part of like stories here, like how with Courtney King was featured with the werewolf when she had nothing to do with werewolf, and then she had her own story. I love that, and especially the redemption when it comes to Clarissa. I mean, no, Crystal here, but it's
yeah,
just I don't know how they're gonna do that as far as like. To be fair, all the ideas we come up with, they'll never adapt it. They might take
no,
some elements, but they're not going to be like, oh, well, just give them for free. No, we need to make money. Although I
like it
will
can
give,
be interchangeable from Crystal.
yeah. Although I will, I
But
mean, yeah. That Chris is the only one that makes sense in this kind of case here. But the one thing
yeah,
one thing I will say is that I will give them credit. at least they're not doing copy paste as I thought I was fearing. They at least are trying to do something interesting and unique. So it's not always just like taking like inspirations from the book. So, they have
But
that.
you also have to remember, there are that were introduced as event characters. Like I know story wise they weren't, but in certain aspects there were like premium special book characters that were used
Well,
in events
yeah, like
in the
Susie,
recent events.
yeah, Susie and all that
Susie,
stuff.
Andy,
But I think
yeah,
with the
Susie,
yeah,
Phoebe,
with
Andy.
those characters, they're part of the shop. You can get them now. Uh, the problem though too is that I wish they do some more of it like that. It would have actually helped out a bit when it comes to the filling up the the, the blankness of some of the level system. But the problem
Mhm.
I find too is that they have to fix some of them because, for example, Zeke, his is broken. If you did not get him with the Phantom of the Auditorium pack when that came available, you're screwed. You can't continue with that because it's going to tell you to place the item, and then they'd be like, "How do I do that? I don't see it." Right? And they don't make it available to people to buy, which is stupid. Like, the special books, like, why not make that available for people to buy? Like, yeah, it's like, oh, we need to change it around. It's like, okay, sure, but what's the problem of having it out and about? Like, people are going to come in and be like, I want to buy that. It's like, that's wasted money there. Just
I
saying.
guess what they could do, like I guess what they could do is during the event, instead of having Crystal in the heroes bundle, it would be Eric because he eventually, turns on the mutant and rats him out to Milo, and then have the special book be
Yeah.
so
Like the,
that way that way you can kill two birds with one stone.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the only thing I would be thinking of. But, other than that, I personally love your story. I wish they do some stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't know how they are. They've
One can
kind of,
only dream.
yeah, I know. They have to, it's hard because it's a balancing act. It's like you have to make sure it's fair for new players, but you also have to make sure it's fair for older players. So
Yeah,
the,
exactly.
the way they've been handling it so far, I think they've been doing a good job. Like better than the other two games, I would say. But this is my opinion. It's unfortunate that they kind of make it the black sheep of the family, but I think that's just due to circumstances with their current predicament at the moment. But they're trying their best what they can do. I feel bad because
Yeah,
it's like they try to get this update out there as fast as possible, and because of it, there's like some glitches here and there. But it's like at least it's more content, so it's like you know at least it's not
all right.
dead, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, trying to think. Is there anything else new to add to this, or should we end it?
I mean, I'll probably end up making more like asset concepts
Yeah.
like later on in my socials and whatever.
Yeah.
So,
And most likely, I would have showed it during this time here. So if you've seen it, then you
well,
get it, and if not, then
the thing is that I'm currently working, you know, Milo.
yeah.
So
So I don't
it's
know
not
what
a
Milo looks like. You do. You, the viewer who's watching this on YouTube, you got to see him. And if you're listening to this, then you didn't get to see him. Too bad.
well. Let's just say that future Graham.
Yeah, Future Grim will probably be like, "Oh, you did such a great job, like you did with Tara." I still love what you did with Tara. She's like certainly looks different, and she looks like a brat.
Oh yeah, because I had like a whole list of like different inspirations for her design, including one of them being like D.W. Reed.
Yeah, you gotta love her. That song can't stop me because I can't read. Yeah, I love that. The what was it? The not the clockwork cuckoo birds. They kind of remind me of
Yeah, the
those
Mad
enemies.
Cuckoo
Yeah,
Bird.
they remind me of those enemies from Mario. The one that Bowser throws around.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was the inspiration. No, that wasn't. I know you said like I showed the picture of it, but it's just interesting that it's kind of like can imagine that them just hopping about these giant mecha birds. And then they could just do when they do the cuckoo, they can have their head kind of popping out like you would see the clock kind of pop out the cuckoo bird.
yeah. Just have them look like because the inspiration for that concept was where they like kind of break apart, almost showing off like falling gears and springs.
Yeah.
Uh,
I wonder if it could do something like how Jimmy Neutron's dog plays dead, where he blows up and he's able to reattach himself.
no, because the thing about the thing that I was doing, I inspired it from Alice in Wonderland's Mad Watch, where like the watch is like bouncing around, mad as a hatter, where
Okay,
a
yeah,
bunch of old watch parts fall off of it and stuff, and
yeah, yeah,
snapping like a fucking alligator.
yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, now I see it. Yeah, so I can
Yeah,
see the inspiration. All right, so I think we should end this.
yeah,
Okay, all right, let's just get to the outro now. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this episode, folks. It certainly was an interesting one, especially with the time that we've done this. Normally we'd like to do it during the day, but circumstances and all that. But hey, we got to enjoy. It'd be interesting to see what you think down below. Me and Vampire reads the comments, so we're sure to
yeah.
talk to you. And the other thing too, by the time this episode airs, a lot of people haven't guessed with this particular episode, but we're still going to do this anyways. If you end up guessing what we have planned before the episode airs, what I'll do is I'll pin your comment, so you get to be the first wiener, as it were. So it'd be interesting if someone actually did win this contest for this particular episode, but so far nobody. So I don't know. They've been more interested with the concepts than they did with anything else, but. With that in mind, as we would usually end it, we're going to tease what next episode's going to be, which is going to be my book that I'm going to be dealing with. So this is going to be an interesting one because a lot of people tend to be. This was a book that needs to get addressed at some point, so that might give you some sort of hint. The other weird thing too, by the way, I did a poll recently, and a lot of you, I don't know why, but you want me to you want to see us adapt Go Eat Worms. I have no idea how to do that right now. That's not going to be the next book, but that's something I
I
have to keep
probably
in
might
mind.
be able to.
Okay, well that's something that you have to put in the catalog then. All right, so
Yeah.
next episode is going to be my take, and if you're curious on what I have in mind, well, here's your hint.
What's gonna happen? Am I gonna blow up?
No, worse! It'll go right to your thighs!
My thighs?
And then you'll blow up!
Well, Squidward died.
Mr. Squidward, I'm gonna kick your fucking ass.
No, it's like, what was it? I'm gonna kick your butt. That guy's gonna kick my butt. Yeah. So, yeah. So, what does
How many
SpongeBob?
times do we need to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the old people, young people.
Those young people.
Yeah, I know. I screwed it up. Anyways, yeah. So, what was a SpongeBob clip and Squidward blowing up by eating too many Krabby Patties have involved with my next part? Well, if you know this particular book, you might have a guess of where I'm aiming at this. But other than that, yeah, I'll leave it to you. If you guess correctly, I'll pin it. Other than that, I think that we'll wrap it up. So with that in
Be
mind,
sure to be an Oscar Mayer wiener.
yes, exactly. So I've been Grim,
That's all, folks.
and that's been my partner Vampire, and that's a wrap.
See ya.